Oh, wait, what? Well, I sure hope not. Um. Oh. Yikes. I was just fully just playing the audio of the videos. Wait, no, maybe I wasn't. I think it's okay. Right. Let's see. Hold on. Testing. True. Praised. All my audio being broken on the other thing worked out. Buh, buh, based. Anyways, first and foremost, what the fuck is this? That looks cool. Second and foremost, Yu-Gi-Oh! NAWCQ concluded. Let me tell ya, Tier 0 doesn't look fun. Not that I really know anything about anything. But oh boy, boy, oh boy, am I I am not motivated to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm thinking about starting to go into like locals and stuff. I have so many. Unironically, I have. Unironically, I have like 4 decks that are like basically stuff for. Was Runic Sprite. But I need a couple extra cards from that. And I have a branded deck. I have my branded deck, which I love dearly, but it's only missing. The only card it's missing is Quem. Oh. So based. So the issue is just that like. Oh, now not like I'm going to NAWCQ, but I don't know. I'm just like I don't know why, but I'm even like petrified to go to fucking locals. But like, cool. Look, a branded deck, and if I just get one guiding Quem, I'd be able to play it. But it costs $58, and that's now more because guiding Quem is also played in Bestial Runic, which is doing better, I think. No, it's not. It's not a Bestial Runic. I think you could use Quem in Whitewood. So people are buying it to maybe make Whitewood deck. But none of them topped or even. Anyways, this is a nice list. I could make something like this. I think I'm only missing an extra Serenir. I have you. And then I just bought Book of Eclipse. A bunch of them. Have you. Dude, the Dark Ruler No More and Forbidden Droplet main deck? Kind of nutty. Again, not that I know really much of anything, but that's like serious. Go fuck yourself. If I'm going second, I'm gonna bust you open. I'm busting you open. Really good. I just don't know if that leads to bricks. I don't know if that's like bricky because you now have 5. You essentially have 5. Let's like you could take it as 5 Dark Ruler No More. Essentially, like the Forbidden Droplet and Dark Ruler No More are almost the same cards, just used in slightly different ways. Or slightly different. So Dark Ruler No More, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls until the end of the turn. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, your opponent takes no damage. Neither player can activate monster effects in response to this card's activation. So it's basically just a one-time use skill drain, which can be used immediately. Obviously, is the big goal. Forbidden Droplet, send any number of cards from your hand and or field to the graveyard. Choose that many effect monsters your opponent controls, and until the end of the turn, their attack is halved. Also, their effect is negated. In response to this card activation, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects of cards with the same original type monster spell as the cards sent to the graveyard to activate this card. So you could just do a bigger negate, but you have to pitch things from your hand. But having 5 in the deck is pretty nutty. Card I can't afford because it's also $51. There's some deck that you don't need. Well, what I bought what I'm hopefully maybe going to go to locals with. Maybe it'll be the first time I go to locals, or maybe I'll go to this weekend. Like it happens every Friday. I might go with my branded deck because it's usable. It's just missing Quem and triple tactics thrust, but who cares? It's just a really good card, but like it's not gonna break your deck if you don't have it. If your opponent has activated a monster effect this turn, set one normal spell directive for your deck, except triple attack is thrust. Or if your opponent controls a monster, you can add it to your hand instead. That card. I think is this a quick spell? No, it's a. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a going first card. Because it's a card you respond. In response to getting ashed. Yeah. You activate these cards when you're going first and you get Ash Blossomed, or anything happens. So the main one that I know is Triple Tactics Talent because I run 3 of them because I don't have Thrust. If I get Ash Blossom, if your opponent activates a monster effect during your main phase this turn, activate one of these effects. Draw 2 cards, take control of one monster your opponent controls until the end phase. Look at your opponent's hand and choose one card from it and shuffle it into the deck. Now, I think in my mind, I'm like, oh, drawing 2 cards is based, but actually I'm pretty sure ripping from your opponent's hand is more based. Because you could destroy their whole combo. Because then they're -2, right? Because they played Ash Blossom, sure, it negated you, but then they played... So you start with 5 cards in your hand. They Ash you. And then they Ash Blossom you. You then play Triple Tactics Talent. They went from 5 to 3 cards. Yes, they negated your activation. Like they might have negated a activation of Aluber, but now they're at 3 cards, and you can hopefully continue the rest. Like you can hopefully push through and continue, or they might even have to almost skip their turn if they have, because they could have a dead hand. The Book of Eclipse. Change all face-up monsters on the field to face-down defense position. This is good. I'm pretty sure because... Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure I'm wrong on this interaction. Link cards can't be turned face down. Do they just get destroyed? I want to say that's an interaction somewhere, because there's some card that would be used to fuck over Dragon Link, because you would just use it and it would just blow up your whole board because you can't flip anything over, so they all just die because Link monsters can't be. They just explode. What card am I thinking of? Maybe it's Book of Eclipse. Change all face-up monsters on the field to face-down defense position during the end phase of this turn. Change as many face-down defense position monsters your opponent controls as possible to face-up defense position. Then your opponent draws cards equal to the number of monsters changed face-up with this effect. So Book of Eclipse, I was reading it, I was like, I don't think it would be good in Mimighoul. So the deck that I want to build is Mimighoul Runic. And I don't know if Book of Eclipse would be good, because yes, you could change all the face-up monsters on the field to face down. The issue is that you're doing that to... What happens when a Mimighoul card activates its effect? So you can special summon Mimighoul cards to their side of the field. Then they flip, and when they flip over, an effect activates, and they do all their effects, but then the Mimighoul card comes over to your field. If you Book of Eclipse them, you just flip them back over on your side of the field, and now you fucked yourself. Alright, spirits. But anyways, like the only deck I care, like it's like a cool deck. Oh, another deck. So like I can't afford any of these. I also don't even know why they're $1,000. I don't understand what card in here makes it 1,000K. 1,000K? It's $1 million. Nice one. I don't understand what cards in here make this $1,000. So like 3 of these at 100, so $300. I thought there was like a couple chase cards in here that make it so, but it's that card, SP Little Knight, and then Molcharmy also made it $1,000 maybe. I forget what the fuck the card was. People were like mentioning it. Imagine if this was any rarity other than fucking oh god. I think I bought one. Some card. I forget what it was, but these decks are like not deceivingly $1,000, but there's some card in here, I forget which one it is, that you could only get like through vendors or something like that, so they would just jack the fucking price all the way up, and then you're fucked yourself. So you have to spend $1,000 even though the card's not actually worth it. It just has to be worth it because it's you know, busted. So anyways, here's Runic Stun. I can make this deck, but I'm not going to take it to locals because I'm just going to... Hi, I'm the new guy here. By the way, I'm playing Runic Stun. Where's the one Labyrinth deck? What the hell's this? Runic Lab. So then this is a new variant of Lab, which I can actually run if I get enough Lady Labyrinths, which I think I just bought a few of them. So I can actually make this. It's just it's not Stun Labyrinth. I don't know if that exists. But it's Trap Heavy Labyrinth, which again, I think is mostly just used to destroy the current meta. But what I like about Lab, and hopefully a more generic version will come out once this fucking AIDS is over, is I really like this simultaneous equation cannon. I really like how it plays. It seems really fun, the math. And I don't think, even if it's trap heavy, I don't think people would be as mad because it's like, okay, buddy, you're doing actual math to kill me. You know what? Fine. And it's cool because you get to put a bunch of shit in your extra deck. And the reason you get to do this is because simultaneous equation cannon lets you banish one fusion monster and 2 XYZ monsters with the same rank from your extra deck, whose combined level and rank equal to the total number of cards in both players' hands and on the field. Then you can apply this effect. Return 2 of your banished monsters to the extra deck. Return 2 of your banished monsters to the extra deck. 1 XYZ and 1 fusion, whose combined level and rank equal to the level of the rank of one face-up monster your opponent controls. Then banish all cards they control. So the way you do this. So the way this works, I think I don't know, is so you first have to banish 1 fusion monster and 1 XYZ monster with the ranks equal to the combined level of whose combined level and ranks equal to the total number of cards in both players' hands and on the field. So if you have a field that's totally, you have 5 cards. Well, let's just say you have a hand. Each player has a hand of 3. And they have 3 cards on the field. That means that you need to, so 3, 6, 9, 12. You need to combine a fusion monster and 2 XYZ monsters to equal 12. So you would go in here and you would go, okay, I've got, do they need to be the same? Yeah, so the 2 XYZ monsters have to be the same rank. So that's why there's a bunch of doubles in here. So 4, 4, 4, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, I think is how that's going. So you would go, okay, it needs to equal, what was it again? 3, 6, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12. So 12, it has to equal 12. So you would go, let's say you go at level 5. You go 4 and 4, 8. And then I need a level 4 on top of that. So 4, 4, 4 is 12. And you pitch those all to you banish all those cards to the grave, and now that activates your second thing. And then you can apply this effect. Return 2 of the banished monsters from the extra deck, 1 XYZ and 1 fusion, whose combined level and rank equal the level of one of the face-up monsters your opponent controls. So now you need to return this card and one of the other rank 4s that you sent over. One of these, and then that means a level 8 monster. You get to target a level 8 monster your opponent controls, and then banish all the cards they control. So as long as you equal something on their field, so they have a level 8 monster on the field, which is very common because in any of the top decks, the boss monsters are level 8s. So, well, level 10 again, not exactly hard to get to. Maybe I'm just thinking of branded. Okay, I mean, the point is that a lot of them have like similar ranks or similar levels. I guess I'm just thinking of branded. If I go to branded, you go to branded, it's 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, or 9. Sorry, all 8s and then 1 9. So all you have to do is let's say a branded player plays out and they get their whole board, just because I know what that kind of looks like. They get their whole board out. Oh, fuck. If they get their whole board out, all you need to do. So. So they get their whole board out, and that means that maybe they don't have any cards in their hand, but maybe you have every card in their hand. So let's say they have a full board and a couple traps. So they have what is it, 5, 6? So they have six on the board, or maybe they don't have a full board. Again, let's say they control 5 cards, hand and field. So they control 5 cards. You control 4 cards because you had to put down this trap. Oh no, that would still be 5. So you control 5. You have 5 and they have 5 and they have 5. So that's 10. So you would pitch, and then you would want to have, and then you would have to keep in mind that you want to have something that equals 8. So you would want to do 4. You could do 4, and oh sorry, what am I? You have to equal 10. Total number of each. So you both have 5, so it has to be equal 10. So equaling to 10 would be yeah, equaling to 10. Ooh, can you even do the math on that? Oh, maybe you could dodge it because of... Oh, no, but you would do this. It has to be 2? What the fuck? Am I on crack, bro? Be 7, but it has to be 2 of the same, no? Banish 1 fusion monster and 2 XYZ monsters with the same rank in your extra deck. Yeah. Combine level and ranks equal to cards in your opponent. If I wanted to equal 8. Ooh. Okay, that's what makes this a good deck, I guess. Everyone want to do this math right now? So if we control 10 cards, which I think is maybe likely, control 10. I want to bring back of 8. Well, theoretically, you don't have to really worry about it. If they somehow have only 8 level 8 fusions on the board, then it's like one other thing. But like, okay, let's say return 2 cards from your deck with combined levels equal to the. So you need to be able to have. You need to be able to pitch a fusion. And well, yeah, if it's branded, you're pretty much forced to go with 2 level 4s to be 8. Or am I technically gonna do with 3s? So you have 6 plus a 4, or you do 4s plus a 3. Screw that. What is that? No, 7. And then you have 7. Doesn't let you target it. But if you control 12 in hand, for example, you go 5 and 5 and 2, and then you get to pitch a. That's still 7. Oh, is it always 7? Is it? Am I? You control. If you control, let's say there's a total number of 3 cards. If there's a total control, no, I don't leave you active. There's a total controlled cards of 6, 3 and 3. No, you can't do 3. Whoa, how do you even do that one? Huh? If the total amount of cards controlled is 6, you can't activate it. Okay. But if it's 7, you do 2, 2, 3, 3, 1. 8, you go 3, 3. 10, 3, 4. 11, 3, 3. 5. 12, 4, 4. Well, technically you go 4, 4, 1 for 9, 4, 4, 10, 4, 4, 11, 4, 12, 4, 5, 13. 16, you go 4, 5, 5. Wait, 16, 16, you have to go 7, 7, 2, or 6, 6, 6, 6, 4, 17. I don't even know. 17. It's cool, but the meta sucks. Next. About I don't care. No, I'll time you out. hour. Because I don't. I hate it because I just know. I know. You're gonna say follow for follow. You're never gonna watch any of my shit anyways. You just follow me for no fucking reason. I don't care. Follow me or not follow me. I don't care. You can either follow me or you don't follow me. That's it. All it is. Or if you want to do things together, that's like a totally different story. Fuck, what the hell? If you want to collaborate on stuff, that's like another thing. But you don't want to do that. You just want to follow for follow, and then I don't care. No, I don't.
Harris, you're voting.
Watch.
For the most.
There's Morgan here talking about
liberal president in history by far.
She's clearly not stupid. She's eloquent. She's articulate.
You make a mistake if you think she's articulate. She is not. She can read the teleprompter. She can't think extemporaneously.
It is incredibly bizarre that the President of the United States of America, a few weeks out from the convention, decided to pull out of the race and did not address the nation. So the fact that people would speculate about that, I think, is totally reasonable.
Joe Biden was forced out by his own brain, Ben. Joe Biden's brain did a coup on...
President Biden is alive. That wouldn't normally make for a particularly good headline, would it? But given the state of his health, his abandoned campaign, and his complete absence from public view this week, it came as something of a relief. The president has still yet to be seen since Sunday's bombshell announcement, but he dialed in to a Kamala Harris campaign event last night with a very reassuring message, particularly for Republicans.
And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala. I'm going to be working like hell, both as a sitting president, getting legislation passed, as well as in campaigning. You know, what we still need to save this democracy. And Trump is still a danger to the community. He's a danger to the nation.
I'm not going anywhere, he says. I'll be out campaigning with Kamala. Well, given his ratings, she might not want him to. In a sign of the awkwardness ahead in this uniquely bizarre and sensational campaign, the ailing president lingered on the call like an elderly grandparent yelling, "You still there?"
You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And we do, everybody here does.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching it, kid.
I'll be watching you, he warns, booming in like the ghost of elections past. Well, President Biden now says he'll allegedly address the nation tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Vice President Harris, meanwhile, is cruising to the nomination. Democratic titans like Nancy Pelosi and St. George Clooney have endorsed her. Donations are pouring in. Now she has the delegates to see off any serious challenges too. The open convention has become more like one of our British coronations. Clearly, I'm not advising her campaign, but I would say the spectre of Joe Biden is probably the last thing she needs right now if she wants to close the gap on former President Trump. Harris will campaign as a black female leader with a compelling message about a prosecutor against a convicted felon. She's 19 years younger than Trump. Like Biden, she can often be incoherent, but unlike Biden, the words coming out of her mouth are the ones she intended to use. As unpopular as she may be at the moment, her candidacy has the potential to stoke the Liberal base and win over voters who saw Biden's campaign as an increasing farce. And that's why Trump supporters should be careful what they wish for.
I have suggested that the president should resign. The reason is, if everyone acknowledges that he is incapable of running a campaign, then he's clearly incapable of running the country. I mean, he has the nuclear codes. He has major decisions that he has to make every single hour of every day, and he does not have the faculties to do so now. We are suggesting and calling upon him to resign and do the right thing for the country.
Well, they're right, of course. There are very serious questions about Biden's fitness for office. Some of us have been asking them for years, even as Democrats assured us that he was so sharp he could slice concrete. But acting up in the Oval Office could benefit Kamala Harris, just as the omni-shambles of Biden can only benefit Trump. The best strategy for the former president may be the one he's tended to like the least, to stand back and let the lunatics run the asylum, for now. Later on, I'll talk to Bill O'Reilly about all this, but first to debate, I'm joined by the host of the Habituation Room, Francesca Fiorentini, the former Republican congressman and presidential candidate Joe Walsh, the co-host of Verdict with Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson, and the host of Part of the Problem podcast, Dave Smith, and Chris Mowry from Chris and Harry Unplugged. Now, Ben, I know you've got to leave fairly soon, so I want to start with you. Is it in the Republican interests that Joe Biden lingers around like a bad old smell for as long as possible?
Yeah, careful what you wish for. I think there's two parts to this. Look, I would love to see Joe Biden be okay, and I mean that from a health perspective, the fact he's been hiding, that we haven't seen him. I'm glad that apparently he's doing better, and he's going to address the nation tomorrow night. At the same time, if he's clearly incapacitated, you need someone to actually be the acting president of the United States of America, not a de facto president, which is what Kamala is right now. Look, there's a yin and yang here. If you see Kamala as president, does it help her campaign? Maybe. But if she's the Kamala Harris that we've learned to know, I think it could also just be a disaster for a presidential campaign. It's truly a coin flip at this point. So, yeah, be careful what you wish for in one aspect of this. But at the same time, it's like, all right, let's see what Harris looks like. I don't believe it's a great product. I don't believe she's going to be a great president if she's filling in. I think she's a disaster when you see her on stage. And I think she's unlikable. And the Democrats decided that in the last presidential primary they had with her. They didn't like her. They didn't vote for it. They didn't support her. They didn't give her money. This is a coronation now. So let's see Kamala Harris. I think she's running the country right now. So let's let her have the job.
Okay, I mean, Francesca, I watched Kamala Harris's first big speech yesterday, the one where Biden called in, and the contrast between the two of them couldn't be more glaring. I mean, Biden just sounded like a very old man doddering his way through a sort of call to wish everybody well. She did look the part. I mean, she's very telegenic. She's obviously intelligent. She was warm. She cracked some jokes. She had a few zingers about Trump. And whilst everything Ben has said is true, everything changes when you become the presidential candidate for your party. And there is a chance here for the Democrats to have a massive and dramatic reset if she plays it right.
I mean, yeah, and even if she plays it wrong, Piers, I mean, even if she can just end a full sentence and be nominally coherent, she's a much better option for not just Democratic voters, but I think independents and undecideds who obviously see Donald Trump. They know all the drama that comes along with him, and they're like, yeah, let's go with this. Let's take a chance. But look, I think this is a massive win for Trump. I don't understand why the right's not happier. You guys need to be happy. Okay, Donald Trump beat Joe Biden and not a single ballot was cast. Boom. I don't know why this is not more of a cause for celebration. I understand that your Superman does have a kryptonite, which happens to be black female prosecutors, you know, Tanya Chutkin and Letitia James, Fani Willis, and now, oops, Kamala Harris. But I still think you should just take a win. I love, you know, there's a lot of whining going on and I don't get it. Like, in no world does like a baseball team get to sue another baseball team because like they put in a left-handed relief pitcher instead of a righty and they were prepping for the righty. What's going on?
Yeah, but let me say this in response quickly. It's not whining. This is different and Republicans know it's different because number one, the media is about to give $1 billion to $2 billion in in-kind donation to the Harris campaign with a 30-day Democratic convention telling everyone that she is amazing. Number two, perspectives change. If you're on the Titanic and you hit an iceberg and there's a really crappy little dinghy boat in the middle of the water, that boat looks amazing to you in that moment because it's a life raft and it might save your life. That is Kamala Harris's campaign right now. You're compared to a ship that's going down, and the only thing that can possibly save you is that crappy little ship in the sea, which you'll be in love with for the next 3 or 4 months. So it's not whining, it's just knowing, what's going to happen here.
So I love your analogy, and let me just double check that.
Does that mean that
wait? Does that mean that Donald Trump is the iceberg?
Hang on, Francesca. Let me get Dave to respond to that.
No, that's not what I said, and I think you know that.
No, the iceberg's Donald Trump.
Okay, Dave Smith.
All right.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think that there's a lot of relief amongst Democrats right now because they were very concerned with the problems that Joe Biden has as a candidate. The issue is, look, there's a reason why we've all been speculating about Gavin Newsom and Hillary Clinton. And from the very beginning, when there was always a question mark over whether Joe Biden would make it or not, there is a reason why people skipped over Kamala Harris as the next option. And the reason is because she's a deeply unpopular vice president. She has never been a great political candidate. And the reality of the situation is that despite the enormous spin that's going on right now, it is not true that Joe Biden made some decision that his country is more important than him. He fought everyone until the very bitter end. Kamala Harris has a serious uphill battle right now to try to beat Donald Trump. She's only got a few weeks till convention. I'm not saying this as a Trump supporter who's whining. I'm just looking at the situation in front of me. Donald Trump is the overwhelming favorite right now.
Yeah, I think that's completely true, and certainly in the swing states. Joe Walsh.
Just like talking in the background.
Yeah, I think that's.
Looking at the situation in front of me, Donald Trump is the overwhelming favorite right now.
Yeah, I think that's completely true, and certainly in the swing states. Joe Walsh, what do you make of this? And I can't ever remember a period in American politics quite like this in my entire lifetime. I was born in 1965. It's absolutely extraordinary, the series of events. The fact that there was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump where he was hit by bullets and we're not actually leading with that so soon after it happened is remarkable. But it's a very fast-moving thing, this. And the thing about politics is momentum can play a big part. You know, Trump has arguably, you could say, peaked way too early here in this campaign. You know, everything's riding well for him. He's doing great. The comeback is in place. It's all secure. Looks like he can't lose. But as he said to me on the phone on Saturday night when we spoke, 4 months is a very long time in politics. We've just seen what can happen in 3 weeks. You know, 3.5 weeks ago, there was the debate to come, and Joe Biden was telling everyone, I'm going to take Trump down at the debate. Well, you know, 3.5 weeks later, he's gone. So anything can happen here. What's your reading, Joe, of where we are?
And Pierce, I agree 100%. We are living in unprecedented times. I mean, the past 8 to 9 years. 3.5 years ago, a sitting president lost an election, and he still hasn't conceded. And he tried to overthrow an election. You're right. We had an assassination attempt on a president just a few weeks ago. So, yeah, these are crazy, unprecedented times. Look, this isn't complicated. I don't want Trump back in the White House, but he's winning right now. He's got a comfortable lead. Joe Biden wasn't going to beat him. The Democrats found another candidate, and she has a legitimate shot at challenging him and beating him. I think the factor that all of us have underestimated, no matter where you stand on her as a candidate, is the enthusiasm. There was zero enthusiasm for Joe Biden. Kamala Harris, any other candidate, would have generated huge enthusiasm. That's a wild card. That's all. That's a wild card.
It's a reset. Piers, the whole election.
Let me bring Ben. I know you've got to go in about 4 minutes, Ben. So let me ask you this, Ben. I mean, the money's been pouring in for Kamala Harris in record levels, if you believe what the Democrats are saying. 18, 19 million within 24 hours. And all right, you can cast a skeptical eye over the exact number, but clearly the Democratic machine is now pouring behind Kamala Harris. That will in itself energize the race in a way that Donald Trump would not have had to have dealt with if it was still CP Joe Biden. So I think there's a new challenge for him. You know, if I was advising Trump, and I'm not, but if I was, I would say to him, be very careful about going too ad hominem on Kamala Harris. You know, I would stick to her policies. I would stick to her record. You know, this is a woman who believed in defunding the police. This is a woman ultimately who was made the immigration czar and said, don't come in, and 8 million people came in, right? So there are lots of ways that you can go after Kamala Harris about her record. I think if Trump tries to do what he often does and go ad hominem with her, it could backfire.
Sure. Look, I think this is a blessing that she is now going to be the nominee, that this isn't going to be an open convention. Because otherwise, who are you campaigning against for the next 30 days to the convention, right? You do 20% of the time with Kamala, 10% with Gavin Newsom, 5%, you know, with Shapiro. I mean, this was going to get really complicated. Now Joe Biden is gone. Donald Trump knows who he's running against. It's Kamala. You stick to her record and why she's so unpopular with the Democratic Party. But this is also, Pierce, so different. The media, it was so depressed. The Democratic Party was so depressed. The donors had dried up the money for Joe Biden. They forced him out. Some would even describe it as a soft coup, where if you don't resign 25th and you're going to have some serious problems, he goes into hiding. Any other country this happens, our State Department say, we think there might be a coup attempt going on in another nation. And now we're at this reality. And I think what Democrats understand is this is their lifeboat. This is their second chance at holding on to power. So every mega donor says we want to keep power. Everyone in and around the White House that knows Kamala, we want the power. Every congressman that's running for re-election desperately needs a better candidate. up ballot matters to down ballot races, and every other senator wants to keep power. So they are all in, and that's why every poll that's out right now is completely and utterly worthless. It means nothing. Do I believe that Donald Trump has a lead? Yes, but it's worthless because this is a total reset. It's a completely new race we've never seen before in American political history. It is a race to the finish. It's going to be something we've never witnessed. Now, if you're Trump, you stick to the basics. It's the economy, stupid. Kamala Harris is Joe Biden 2.0. She's unpopular, and she's going to give you exactly what you just saw for the last 4 years. But he has got to stay focused, because the one thing I'll say is the media is going to treat Kamala Harris like she's Princess Diana for the next 3.5 months. They will never betray her. She is now a beauty queen, and they love her.
Well, you can see that, and it does feel like a coronation. That may not be the smartest move by the Democrats, to make it look like they've basically ridden roughshod over democracy to make her the queen. Joe, you want to jump in?
Yeah, just quibble on that one point, Pierce. Look, a coup is when you lose an election and try to overthrow it. That's a coup. A president deciding not to run. No, hold on, Ben. Let me finish, then jump in. A president deciding not to run is not a coup. And this notion, Pierce, of a coronation, Biden decided not to run. Any Democrat could have thrown their hat in the ring. This isn't an election; it's a primary. The primary voters pick delegates. The delegates at the convention pick the nominee. This is not a coup, and any other Democrat could jump in and challenge her.
I'll say this last thing.
Well, I mean,
I'll say this last thing.
Dave Smith.
Look,
let me just ask Benny. Do you have to go, or can you wait a couple of minutes, or what's your deal?
I've got 3 more minutes. Yes.
All right. Well, look, let Ben have his final blast back at Joe, and then we'll carry on with the rest of the panel.
I read this. I read this yesterday, and it came from an elected official, and it said, "quote If this was happening, referring to what's happening now politically, in any other country, the State Department would be calling this a coup attempt. The president in hiding." President, no pictures of him, letterhead that doesn't have a presidential seal, a signature that's been underlined that the president doesn't typically do, and yet we're acting like this is normal. Joe Biden was forced out. There was something that happened to him, whether it was medically,
Joe Biden was
when he was
forced
flying
out
back
by
from
his
Vegas.
own brain, Ben. Joe Biden's brain did a coup on Joe Biden.
He didn't want to leave. He did not want to leave. Days before, he was saying, I'm in this, I'm in this. And I think this was clearly the cabinet and other Democrats that said, you're either going to leave or we're going to force you out. You are done. And now we've got a president that's going to talk to the nation tomorrow night. I'm sorry. This happens in another country. We'd all be talking about it this way, but we're acting like it's normal. This is not normal.
What's so funny about you, Ben? What's so funny about Republicans is that this would never happen, because their God Emperor Donald Trump can literally do whatever he
I swear to God, I can only hear Donald Cunt
wants, and no Republican would ever step out of line to criticize him. No one would step out of line to say you shouldn't be president anymore. And you're so jealous that Democrats.
Who tried to kill him? Oh, I'm sorry. Was the guy a registered Republican?
Actually hold their own accountable. You're so jealous that we'd actually be like, hey, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't run again.
I assure you, I'm not jealous.
The entire party right. It's just so funny. It's like, if you lose in November, you're gonna run him again.
You tried to put him in prison. You tried to put him in prison. You tried to take his property, and then they tried to kill him. I'm not jealous of anybody that celebrates that.
Who tried to kill him? Ben. Who tried to kill him?
A radical young 20-year-old tried to kill him.
Who's they?
And everybody's like, well, I love this the other day. They're like, well, what's the motive? He wanted to kill Donald Trump. That's the motive.
Ben, careful. You said they. They tried to kill him. Who's they?
People that hate Trump. People that hate Trump.
Wait.
That's what I'm saying. It's very simple.
A 20-year-old kid did it, right? A demented, lonely 20-year-old kid
who hated Donald Trump. People that hate Trump, that want to put him in jail, that want to take all of his things. They tried to overthrow the will of the people in the first election with Walsh. Walsh. Go back to the very beginning.
Let me jump in. I just want to say this. We don't actually know the motivation of the shooter, but if you want to look for blame as to how this 20-year-old deranged kid with an AR-15...
Yeah, they wanted to... Who's they? Who's the they? You don't just mean this one random deranged kid.
Was able to unload 8 bullets at President Trump. It's because the secret, well, hang on. It's because the Secret Service dropped the ball in such spectacular fashion and left President Trump exposed so badly, which could have led to him being killed and should have done, really. It was a miracle that he survived, that the director of Secret Service, Kim Cheadle, has today resigned or probably been fired.
A week later.
So that is probably where my main...
A week later? Like...
blame would go is their failure to protect the president. No, listen. Hang on a second, Joe. We've got to say goodbye to Ben to be respectful to his time. Ben, thank you very much indeed for coming back and Uncensored. I appreciate it. We're joined by Chris Murray from the Chris and Harry Unplugged, and I'll come to CJ Pearson as well. But Dave Smith, you've been sitting next to me here, even though we're looking down barrels of different cameras. You wanted to get in there. You were aghast about something. I'm not quite sure what it was.
Well, look, okay, there's just a couple things here. First of all, I do understand why people object to the use of the term coup. However, for Joe to say, well, this was just Joe Biden made a decision, that's pretty misleading also. The truth is that Joe Biden did make his decision. His decision was to stay in the race. He made this very, very clear. Up to Sunday morning, on the Sunday morning news shows, campaign surrogates were going out saying he's staying in the race. It's Biden versus Trump. Now, it's not exactly that he made a decision. Big donors and political operatives and the corporate press all turned their back on him and said, we are going to force your hand. And essentially, he was forced out. On top of that, look, I'm not claiming to know anything that we don't know. It is incredibly bizarre that the President of the United States of America, a few weeks out from the convention, decided to pull out of the race and did not address the nation. Now, you can say he had COVID. I don't care. He's the sitting president of the United States. For it to come out on personal stationery and then in a tweet, he endorses Kamala Harris, and now we're being told we're going to hear from him tomorrow night. That is just incredibly bizarre, and it is understandable why people speculate about what was really going on behind the scenes. The truth is that none of us really know what type of internal pressure was put on Joe Biden, what type of threats were made. So the fact that people would speculate about that, I think, is totally reasonable. On the other point, the idea that Republicans would never question Donald Trump. He's their God emperor. They would never think about another nominee. The problem with this narrative from the left is that it just reality flies in the face of it. Look, there was a National Review entire issue dedicated to never Trump in 2016. Mitt Romney, the previous nominee, came out and gave a speech. Anyone but Donald Trump. This year, all of the big donor money was going to DeSantis and Nikki Haley. All of the powerful forces within the Republican establishment have been trying to get anybody else except Donald Trump. The difference between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is that Donald Trump, however you feel about him, has tens of millions of Americans who love him and want him to be the nominee. And there's no Democrat who has anything like that.
I agree. CJ, we bring in CJ, who's been waiting patiently. Hang on, Francesco, I'll come to you in a moment. CJ Pearson, can you tell me what brat means, given it's the word that's all over the news, and you're probably the only one young enough on the panel to know what it means, apart from Francesco?
As the resident Gen Zer here, it seems as if Kamala Harris is having a brat girl summer, which actually means...
I'm so cooked. I'm so fucked. Oh, God. Okay, guys, if this guy's a Gen Zer, can anyone guess my age and what generation I'm a part of? Because I like this guy. Oh, this guy's not a Gen Zer. He looks much older than that.
Means that she actually...
Yeah. I'm 25, so I'm also Gen Z. I think this is a sign for me to just fucking shave my head off and just completely get rid of my hairline so that no one can ever look at it ever again. I mean, mainly the issue is just that I'm so fucking lazy. Like, I should get a haircut now. It's like, it's getting kind of weird, but I'm too lazy to do it. Anyways,
doesn't know what's going on. It's a state of deliriousness. It's a state of delusion. It's like you're just going along to get along, but that's kind of how Kamala Harris has led her entire political career. She's just been a coconut falling from a coconut tree. She just lands in a place and hopes that the American people will go along with it as this coronation has taken place. You know, Dave absolutely hit all the right points. Donald Trump went through a spirited Republican primary process where he knocked every single one of them out one by one. What's happening right now, which is so ironic and so hypocritical, is that the party that is supposedly so against voter suppression is now disenfranchising millions of Democrat voters who voted for Joe Biden to be their nominee. They bullied a senile old man out of office just so that they could have a chance at winning in November. It's disgusting, it's wrong, it's anti-democratic, and dare I say it's a threat to democracy.
Yo, you should vote
not
Joe
Brad at all,
Biden.
Pierce.
Vote
It's
Joe.
not
You should bring him back into the race.
Hang on.
Defend him.
Hang on. Let me go to Chris. From Chris and Harry Unplugged, who's also been waiting a long time to get in here. Probably even younger, so knows even more what brat means. Kamala Harris, I mean, what do you make of the new threat to Donald Trump? He's got to tear up his entire playbook, which was to be an old guy, to now go after a much younger black woman. It's a completely different proposition for Trump. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Republicans and Trump are panicking, and I think you've seen it in the last 10 or 20 minutes. If they want to run, if the PR play for Republicans wants to be that Democrats are a threat to democracy, that Democrats are doing something undemocratic, Donald Trump and Republicans like C.J. Pearson want to run on that, I think Democrats are in a great position in November. They have nothing. And to the last point about, everybody in this party has to bend the knee to Donald Trump. C.J. Pearson would not be sitting where he is if he didn't go and praise Donald Trump and have a Trump banner in his header. I mean, C.J.'s somebody who, in his primary election that he lost, he called voter fraud against his Republican counterpart. And so, in the Democrat world, we've had fierce debates about our candidate, and it's been hard. But we have values and morals that actually matter over just bowing the knee to one man. And so I think Democrats are in a great position, and she's clearly popular because she's fundraised more money than anyone in political history.
I wouldn't expect to hear anything less from a Democrat, from a DNC paid show like Chris Mowry. But what I'll say to this is that Kamala Harris is nothing more than a pandering shadow. And she is in the same situation that Joe Biden is in. She is not running the show whatsoever. And what she'll realize is that Brat Girl Summer will not be enough to change the hearts and minds of America's young people, because under Kamala Harris, what you won't have is a Brat Girl Summer. What you will have is a Broke Girl Summer as a result of the runaway inflation that we're experiencing under the Biden-Harris administration, as a result of the record high gas prices we've seen under their administration. Their leadership is absent of any leadership.
Then you got nothing to worry about, CJ. Now, then, CJ, if you're right, if Kamala Harris is nothing, you should be smiling. You should be celebrating right now. You got nothing to worry about. Hosanna.
I am celebrating. I am smiling.
Good.
I mean, yeah, that's what I think is sort of just incredible about just two things I'll push back on. The idea that it's a coronation. Once again, in 2020, panel, how many primary challengers did incumbent President Donald Trump have?
And he avoided debating what's her face the entire time, just completely avoided debating her.
Why? Because he was the incumbent president. This is an incumbency, right? And so the idea that this is like, how dare they, it's not democratic. No, Harris is the effing vice president, been on the ticket since Joe Biden was elected back in 2020. Obviously, people thought he was going to be the incumbent and run again. Then his brain did a coup on his body and himself and his whole campaign. And here we are where we are. The other thing about the donors, I think it's very funny, because the reason that Donald Trump on the other side picked your boy J.D. Vance, even though he hates facial hair, is because J.D. Vance came along with a bunch of venture capitalists, guys like Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, David Horowitz, to absolutely help this campaign out with all of their AI-funded tech crypto billionaire money that wants to put us all out of a job. In 3 years, this will just be a panel of AI experts, and honestly, God bless them.
Well, we have Chris Bowery on the panel.
I
so
don't think
guess
there's
we're
any
already there.
robot in the world that could mirror what you're like, Francesca, I have to say. I think your position is safe.
True Brad.
It has to
True
be a
Brad
very
over here.
sophisticated AI. CJ, let me just ask CJ, and I'll come to Dave to also join in on this. When you look at Kamala Harris, like I said, if Trump goes ad hominem, which is his normal preferred method of attack on any opponent, I think it could backfire. However, there is lots of stuff on Kamala's record which I think he can really pick her off about. Most notably, the fact that she's been the immigration czar for the United States of America for the last 2 years, when immigration has been running completely out of control. And if I was Trump, I'd just keep asking her, didn't you just have one job? Wasn't that the job you had to do? And even when she was asked, have you been to the border? She came out with this extraordinary response, well, I haven't been to Europe either, as if that was anything relevant to the discussion. So I think the way she's handled the one thing she was given special responsibility for, if I'm the Republicans, I'm going after that morning, noon, and night.
No, Piers, I think you're absolutely right. I think we do, find ourselves, in a hole when we continue to talk things about, her sexual history or all those things. I think there's no need to discuss those things. I think there are a lot of other things that are disqualifying about Kamala Harris, including her blatant hypocrisy. She locked up countless of nonviolent young black men for smoking weed, only to go on the Breakfast Club and brag about how much weed she smoked. This is also someone, as you said, who is in control of our national security as it relates to the border and absolutely dropped the ball there time and again. She has shown that she is not deserving of promotion. The only reason that we are even having this conversation about her as a nominee of the Democrat Party, aside from a coordination, is because she's a DEI hire. She was a DEI hire when she became vice president because he had to get black women on board with this campaign. They couldn't skip over Kamala Harris because they were afraid of upsetting black women if they did so. That is exactly why she bided her time. She covered up the fact that Joe Biden was mentally unfit and mentally unwell and mentally incapable of carrying on the banner of the Democrat Party because she knew that she could not win an open Democratic primary herself. She knew that she did not have the fortitude to do so. And we saw that. It was demonstrable in 2020. She didn't win a single primary state. She didn't even make it to Iowa, Pierce. And if you think that if she can't beat Pete Buttigieg and all reason that we are Tulsi Gabbard, you think that she can beat Donald J. Trump after what he has endured, after the feckless prosecutions, after the attempted assassination? Then, I've got some great real estate in Alaska to sell you. It's insane.
Okay, I want to bring in Dave Smith about one particular point. I saw one of the polls today, which was matching up Kamala Harris against Trump. Significantly amongst young people, a big gap between them. And a lot of that people are putting down to the fact that young people actually did feel that what Trump did when he was shot was a remarkably ballsy thing. And it became a really big social media sort of emblem of defiance and strength and courage and all these things, which were things that maybe young people hadn't associated with Trump. But suddenly they saw this image of him punching the air, blood all over his face, surviving an assassination attempt. And they thought, you know what, that's, as Mark Zuckerberg said, probably the first time in his life, that was badass by Trump. How significant do you think the failed assassination attempt is going to be, particularly with young people?
Well, I think that it helped Donald Trump tremendously. I think it's one of those things where it's like I remember going to the opera with my wife, and I've never been to the opera before. But when you hear like an unbelievably talented singer at the opera, you're just like, whoa, that's incredible. It's almost an involuntary reaction. And there is something about seeing someone while there's bullets spraying, they don't even know if they're hit yet, and they're given the fist. If you despise Donald Trump, I think most people would admit, yeah, that was a good moment for him. He looked good there. I think to the point that you guys were making before, again, look, I'm a libertarian, and so I already know I'm going to lose. So I kind of have an advantage on some of you guys. Like, I'm not married to either side here. But I think people blind themselves with narratives when they're all in on one camp. And to hear you guys, the Democrats on the panel saying like, oh, the Republicans are in freak out mode or something like that. Guys, you literally just removed your candidate to go with another candidate after years of pretending that the emperor had clothes, while the rest of us were all talking about the guy who was clearly suffering through severe cognitive decline. Finally, you guys had to admit it. You pulled him out there. You're now going with a deeply unpopular vice presidential candidate. Look, good luck, but it's a big uphill battle. The fact is that the spin now is that it was just Joe Biden's age. That was the only issue that he slowed down. The truth is that if you look at every single poll, the two big issues here are the economy and immigration. I'm not a kid. I don't understand any of your black girl summer references. I don't know what brat means, okay? I'm a dad in my 40s. We've lived through, over the last couple of years, the worst price inflation in my life and the worst immigration crisis in my lifetime.
Wait, how old is he?
This is a major problem. I love that girl, so you slowed down and admit it. You pulled him out there. You're now going with a deep, while the rest of us were all talking about the guy for years, like, I'm not married. If they're hit and have my tremendous
said, probably the first time in his life, that was badass by Trump. How significant do you think the failed assassination attempt is going to be, particularly young people?
Well, I think that it helped Donald Trump tremendously. I think it's one of those things where it's like I remember going to the opera with my wife, and I've never been to the opera before. But when you hear like an unbelievably talented singer at the opera, you're just like, whoa, that's incredible. It's almost an involuntary reaction. And there is something about seeing someone while there's bullets spraying, they don't even know if they're hit yet, and they're giving the fist. Even if you despise Donald Trump, I think most people would admit, yeah, that was a good moment for him. He looked good there. I think to the point that you guys were making before, again, look, I'm a libertarian, and so I already know I'm going to lose. So I kind of have an advantage on some of you guys. Like, I'm not married to either side here, but I think people blind themselves with narratives when they're all in on one camp. And to hear you guys, the Democrats on the panel saying like, oh, the Republicans are in freak out mode or something like that. Guys, you literally just removed your candidate to go with another candidate after years of pretending that the emperor had clothes, while the rest of us were all talking about the guy who was clearly suffering through severe cognitive decline. Finally, you guys had to admit it. You pulled him out there. You're now going with a deeply unpopular vice presidential candidate. Look, good luck, but it's a big uphill battle. The fact is that the spin now is that it was just Joe Biden's age. That was the only issue that he slowed down. The truth is that if you look at every single poll, the two big issues here are the economy and immigration. I'm not a kid. I don't understand any of your black girl summer references. I don't know what brat means, okay? I'm a dad in my 40s. We've lived through, over the last couple of years, the
dad in his 40s. Hold on. And he said
worst price inflation in my life and the
worst price inflation of his lifetime. Inflation rate USA. So if he's 40 in his 40s, so maybe, I mean, it gets pretty bad here, and then 2008 happens. So yeah, he's like right outside of it. He's like right outside the bubble, because like what if you're born in 1980, that makes you 40. Does that make you 45? Because my dad, for example, my dad was born in 69. He's 50. He's 50. He's 55. So like, he can't say that, right? He had two massive inflationary periods in his lifetime. Now he's like, no, he's in his 20s over here. Anyways, fuck, that's actually insane. Bro, dude, my mind is so fucked. I just got mind blasted that like, oh, for me, like the 80s is inconceivable because I wasn't alive. Here's when I was born. Wait. Right there. That's me. That's when my dad is born. And then 10 years later is what oh, he's 10. I'm fucking stupid. I'm just an idiot. He's not 20. I'm dumb as hell. He's like 11. Okay, so it's not as it's not as mindfucky as I thought it was. But yeah, okay. He's 11 years old. Anyways, as for Mr. 40-year-old, like maybe he was born at the same time as this? I don't know. It's kind of besides the point.
The worst immigration crisis in my lifetime. This is a major problem. Kamala Harris is married to this administration, and Donald Trump's got a lot of red meat to run against. That's what this election is going to come down to, and it favors Trump.
I agree. Chris, you want to respond to that? Let me get Chris respond, then I'll come to you, Joe.
Yeah, I just want to say, as a Gen Zer, I just disagree with this. This consistent notion that Kamala Harris is unpopular. Again, yesterday we saw the largest fundraising day in American political history through ActBlue. Grassroots donors, $5, $10, $25. Gen Z is excited for a candidate objectively that's younger, a woman, and somebody who's been like a champion on things like climate and gun reform, etc. And I think that Gen Z specifically, as a generation, me, myself, I've never seen America at peace. It's been nothing but chaos since I was born in 2002.
Thank you, President Joe Biden,
and we're looking back now and saying, wow, this is really at a boiling point. And what has caused this? And what's caused this is Trump and the MAGA movement doing nothing but pushing division all the time with the lies and the disgusting, hateful rhetoric. And I think that Gen Z is fired up to move on, to get candidates that actually care about us.
And Chris, I think one of the bigger issues.
Let me ask you this. You talk about hateful rhetoric from the right to the left, and that definitely has been. It's indisputable. But what about the hateful rhetoric from the left to the right? For example, for 8 years, I've heard people on the left, from the top down, refer to Trump as the new Hitler, as Adolf Hitler, as if somehow he's presiding over a Nazi-style regime, which, if you're too young to remember, perhaps, but the Nazis killed 12 million people, including murdering 6 million Jews in a Holocaust. So it's hard to imagine a more offensive or vile slur or more hateful rhetoric than to compare Donald Trump, who's done none of those things, to Adolf Hitler. So do you accept that people on the left have been just as guilty of hateful rhetoric and contributing to the general toxicity of the debate as people on the right?
Sure, but I do want to point out that, you know, the person who's actually called Donald Trump's America's Hitler is J.D. Vance, his current running mate. J.D. Vance was someone who is very staunchly never
that was
Trump.
wrong too.
If you look at elected officials across the board, Democrats have consistently been the ones to calm the tensions. And look, I disagree with calling him America's Hitler, but if I call Donald Trump a dictator or a threat to democracy, I think it's almost dishonest to not call him that. This is somebody who tried to overturn an election he didn't win with evidence that he didn't win it. And so I don't understand how it's hateful to say that he's a threat to democracy or he's moving us.
No. Oh. Okay.
Running mate. J.D. Vance was someone who is very staunchly never
that was
Trump.
wrong
If
too.
you look at elected officials across the board, Democrats have consistently been the ones to calm the tensions. And look, I disagree with calling him America's Hitler, but if I call Donald Trump a dictator or a threat to democracy, I think it's almost dishonest to not call him that. This is somebody who tried to overturn an election he didn't win with evidence that he didn't win it. And so I don't understand how it's
How is that insane? What do you mean? That's literally what happened.
hateful to say that he's a threat to democracy or he's moving us toward authoritarianism. And again, I think that the fact that J.D. Vance is the one who said things like he's America's Hitler goes to the fact that, you know, you have to give up all your morals and all your values and bow to Donald Trump in this part.
Piers, that
All right,
is
let me get a
absolutely
response to
insane.
that from CJ.
You know, Piers, that's absolutely insane. For Chris to sit here and say that it's dishonest for him not to call Donald Trump a dictator is absolutely laughable. Maybe if Chris actually visited a country with a real dictatorship, he would realize that under a system of governance where real dictators did exist, the conversation, the debate, the discourse that we're having wouldn't even at all be possible. But that's all they traffic in, is all of this hyperbolic rhetoric that has actually no semblance.
Oh, so guys, so because we're not actually completely in a dictatorship, you can't call the guy who's trying to bring in a dictatorship a dictator.
Of reality, because they don't actually know how to defeat the president, because he delivered for the American people time and again during his presidency. We had the lowest black unemployment rate. We had record economic growth. We had a secure southern border. All of those things are policy wins that Joe Biden can't brag about. It's exactly why Kamala Harris has to talk about a black girl summer. But here's the reality. Under Kamala Harris, you're going to have a broke girl summer, a broke girl fall,
You
a
said
broke
that
girl
already.
winter,
You
and a
said
broke
that.
girl
That was
spring.
part of
That
the
is what their
wait.
policies do.
Come on,
You said that already.
We cut through his dialogue tree. So.
I heard you.
Yeah, you've said that already. Great. You've got 100 more days to say that. God bless you. Your candidate's winning. We'll see if Kamala Harris can catch him or not. Pierce, just a couple quick points. To Dave Smith, I appreciate the fact that he's a dad in his 40s. I'm a dad in my 60s. Look, I don't belong to either party. I'm not a Democrat. Dave and I probably agree on most policy issues. The difference is I think Trump is a unique existential threat to our democracy. So I'll support whoever the Democratic nominee is. Pierce, to you made a great point early. You said we're living in unprecedented times. A month ago, an 81-year-old candidate for president had a debate and showed that he was not at all ready to continue to be a candidate. He was too old. And the entire Democratic Party rightfully panicked. It is a party process. It's not an election. The party convinced him to step aside, and he made that final decision. This is how the process in each party works. There's nothing undemocratic about it.
Yeah. I just want to say that I think it is wrong to compare Donald Trump to Hitler.
Yeah, Francesca, yeah.
I forgot. This is actually pre-watched, so I'll just let her.
Agree. I think it's absolutely wrong. If you're going to compare him to someone, it's obviously Mussolini. Okay, much more of a showman, great jawline. Wow. I think that is where it happens. And look, Donald Trump, by his own admission, said he would be a dictator, but only on day one. So guys, let's just listen to him, take him at his word. Yeah. So.
But you know the problem, Francesca. Listen. Here's the problem. Funny though your quip just was, and maybe you meant it or not. The truth is, I've just noticed that people on the left, when it comes to Donald Trump, they lose their collective.
Oh wait. Oh no. Never mind. This is the Trump
minds. The reality about the checks and balances of the American democratic process was they were actually very robust. Trump may not have accepted the result of the 2020 election, but he's not in the White House. He's not president of the United States.
Also, I hate these. Like, what's the point here? Can you not call somebody a dictator because the guardrail stood up? Okay.
He had to go that day.
Have you read?
Bang, out the door.
We know.
So the checks and balances did work.
I mean, I don't understand. We know you talk to Trump regularly, Piers. I'm surprised you don't have a white bandage on your ear right now, honestly. And we've seen and we've read all 920 pages of Project 2025, and in it says that instead of the police, the military should be patrolling the streets.
Which the president has disavowed time and again.
That is
the president has said that he does not support Project 2025.
Even though every single person who wrote it was a former Trump advisor. Come on, give me a break. Stephen Miller is in
President Trump himself has said that he does not support Project 2025. We're supposed to think that you believe more about what President Trump believes than what he has said himself. He believes. It's
CJ,
crazy.
Oh, you know what's in his heart. You know what's in his heart.
If you want to see what President Trump believes, go to Donald.
What the fuck is the crap?
JTrump.com, read Agenda 47.
What's in his heart?
Read Agenda 47.
How about this? How about we don't go with what's in his heart and we go with the 4-year track record? I mean, the problem here is that, and look, to your point, obviously the rhetoric on both sides has been elevated tremendously over the last few years.
With 47, Donald J.
You know what's in his heart.
If you want to see what President Trump...
That came up on screen. It is flabbergasting to be like, okay, this document that Trump's employees made, right? So a bunch of Trump employees come out. They're all part of his cabinet. They're all Trump's advisors. They come up with this document, filling out all these things that they want to do. And he's like, I don't want to do it, guys. Oh, yeah, okay. But I just know in my heart of hearts that he won't do it. Okay.
That he does not support Project 2025. We're supposed to think that you believe more about what President Trump believes than what he has said himself. He believes.
It's called lying. Yeah, it's called lying. Yep. It's a thing that people do all the time called lying. Yeah. Very hard to understand.
Crazy.
Oh, you know what's in his heart. You know what's in his heart.
If you want to see what President Trump believes, go to DonaldJTrump.com, read Agenda 47.
What's in his heart?
Read Agenda 47.
How about this? How about we don't go with what's in his heart and we go with the 4-year track record? I mean, the problem here is that, and look, to your point,
was that like,
obviously
I feel like it has to be on her end that happened, no? It's like an automatic thing through the app, whatever app she's using.
Rhetoric on both sides has been elevated tremendously.
There's no way that somebody at Piers Morgan's show edited that in. That'd be
over the last few years. But the rhetoric
well,
on
it happened live too. So then, like someone sitting there live and did that. That'd be insane.
Both sides has been here is that, and look to your point. Obviously, the rhetoric on both sides has been elevated tremendously over the last few years. But very divisive times in this country, and both sides are guilty of this or right to do it, however you look at it. But people do lose their collective minds when it comes to Donald Trump. Look, these comparisons, the idea that he's some Hitlerian figure is ridiculous. Even the comparisons to Mussolini, this is all silliness. Donald Trump was president for 4 years, okay? He did a lot of things bad. I was a big critic of his foreign policy. His fiscal policy was very bad. I do not think he handled COVID well, but these are problems kind of similar to previous presidents before that. His rhetoric is much more bombastic than other presidents were, okay? That's the reality that we're dealing in. And the fact that you guys have to take this up to 11, as if there's some existential threat to the Republic that isn't, by the way, you want to know the real existential threat to, hold on, just 1 second, let me finish. The real existential threat to our Republic right now is that debt is over, the interest on our debt is overtaking our entire budget. And this is something that Democrats and Republicans are both guilty of. So they don't want to talk about that because it's, it condemns both of them. But the reality of the situation is that whatever.
Let me tell you. I think I might just let I'm pretty sure, I don't know. I live in Canada where our debt to GDP is, but regardless, pretty sure as long as your economy is like booming, your debt to GDP doesn't really matter at all because you have fiat currency, so your dollar's tied to the performance of your economy. So you're in massive debt, but your economy is going nuts, so it doesn't really. Now it might eventually matter.
Whatever happened on January 6th that
as long as you're not spending it on shit that doesn't help your economy, then.
Got out of control. There certainly was violence there. Donald Trump got on a plane and went back to Mar-a-Lago. He was never calling in the military. There was never a chance that he was going to institute a dictatorship in the United States of America. This is
what? He got a. What do you mean? What do you think? Wait. What do you think he was trying to do that day? He didn't need to be there specifically to institute what he needed to do. He just needed his voters to get in there and delay the vote long enough so that they could disrupt the electoral process enough so that they could send back the electorates back to they would cause enough confusion with the electorates that they would have to send the vote back to Congress, and then Congress would be able to elect the president, and then he would hope it would be him, because I think at the time the Republicans ran it, right? That's how you would do it. So I don't know why you think he needs to be present for that, but okay.
All election.
Right. Instead, what he did, he went back to Mar-a-Lago and sat there drinking a fucking Coke for an hour and a half or 2 hours and watched Ashley Babbitt die, and then he finally said something about it. Oh, okay.
Nonsense. And I'll tell you something, Democrats, you better figure out something else to run against, because this whole Kamala Harris is a prosecutor and Donald Trump is a felon. The American people have rejected this already. No one cares about these charges that wouldn't have been brought to any other former president, okay? This isn't going to do it. You got to have something of substance. The problem is what you guys could actually run against is that Donald Trump was such a disaster through all of 2020, and he kept Fauci on the job, and he kept Americans locked down. The problem is you guys were criticizing him for not locking down harder. So I don't know what angle you're going to find.
Wait. Oh, my chat is like so bugged. It's not even showing me the bottom of the chat. Hello? Is it pink? What is happening?
Flaws on him. The problem is you guys are worse on most of the issues he's bad on.
David, be better than that. Quit saying you guys. Everybody opposes Donald Trump for their own reason. Quit saying you guys. And I'm sorry, quit saying those of us who do believe, and you can disagree, Dave, those of us who do believe Trump is a unique threat to democracy, quit saying we've lost our minds. Come on, man. I haven't lost
my mind. You've absolutely lost your mind.
I'm older.
Lost your mind.
Hold on, CJ. Let me finish, CJ. I'm older than you, Dave and CJ. In my lifetime, I've never seen a president lose an election and refuse to concede. I've never seen a president try to overthrow the results of that election.
What the hell's going on? Oh, I actually will be. I can't. It's not letting me. Oh. But I remember now why my chat doesn't show. Brother, why? Okay, who designed this at fucking YouTube? Who did this? They put a reaction wheel right over the fucking oh, there, I can do this. See you tomorrow, buddy. So actually, so incredibly cringe. They put a fucking like a reaction wheel right on the 3 dots to be able to, you know, do something to someone. But you
can disagree with the severity
but,
of
okay,
that.
but Joe, hold on 1 second. But let's just be real specific here. Just very, hold on.
Real specific. January 6th, 2021. Real specific for you, my guy.
Wait, this is Dave.
Hold on.
You can disagree with the severity of that.
Okay, but Joe, hold on 1 second. But let's just be real specific here. Just very, hold on.
Real specific. January 6th, 2021. Real specific for you, my guy.
Wait, this is Dave and CJ. I feel like are not willing to look into the deeper aspects. I mean, Donald Trump is someone who's had a whole fake electors plot, sent fake electors to my state of Georgia, and tried to, you know, essentially take the will of the people away. He had the Department of Justice in the Oval Office demanding that they sign a letter that with a DOJ header that said they believed there was election interference, and 2 DOJ officials resigned over that. Again, it is so dishonest when to say that Donald Trump was normal or that people are losing their minds when they say he's a threat to democracy. I mean, he tried and went through every single illegal and legal action to overturn the election. And why people are freaked out is because if you have another Trump presidency where he could install loyalists, all of a sudden those checks and balances that Piers is referring to could disappear.
Let me invalidated under a Trump
don't talk
presidency.
over each other.
The Constitution.
Dave and CJ, let me just make one more point.
Finish CJ, and then I'll come to Dave, and then we'll wrap.
I'll shut up for good. One more point. It's now Kamala Harris against Donald Trump.
Joe.
It's Kamala Harris against Donald Trump. If Kamala Harris loses in November, Kamala Harris will concede and she'll accept the will of the people. If Donald Trump loses in November, he won't and he won't. That is a threat.
Well,
I just want to.
Okay, but look, here's the, okay. If I were to say, and I want like honestly,
they have not learned their lesson.
Hold on, let me just respond to.
Let Dave respond, then I'll come to CJ.
So if I were to say right now, I want to overthrow democracy in the United States of America and institute a dictatorship, I don't think anyone on the panel is very.
I would call you a dictator. Okay.
Freaked out by that because I have no power to do it. Like it doesn't really matter if
you're not the one running for You still need people behind you to accept that you become a dictator. Like, right? Like, the whole balance of power between... I don't know, it's unfathomably stupid. Like, is this guy's point that there's no way he could become a dictator because as long as 51% of the United States population wants him to be in office, he actually can just stay in office indefinitely? What the fuck? And that's still democracy? Like, I don't understand his point.
I want to do it or not. Now, I will kind of agree with you guys. I just thought the way Trump handled the 2020 election was terrible. I did think he was kind of using like bully tactics when he called the Secretary of State in Georgia there. But the bottom line is that he had no mechanism to actually overthrow democracy, and that.
Okay. Wait, again, even if he doesn't have the mechanism to do it, even though I'm pretty sure he does, right? You just have to sow enough chaos and eventually you kind of get your way. But anyways, I'm pretty sure there's a path. But even if there isn't, what does that obfuscate from the point? Obviously, is that the right word? How does that move away from the point that like he's still trying to be a dictator, or that he is a dictator, or that he's not going to concede on just because he can't do a thing doesn't mean that he's not trying to do the thing.
It was a totally like impotent attempt to even do it.
Yeah,
so,
like, guys, he's not a dictator because he just can't do the thing that he wants to become a dictator over. Okay, wait, what?
Listen, hold on. Let me just finish, because I let you guys go for a second. Let me just finish making my point here. This is the problem with you guys going to this well over and over again. It was never actually a threat to overthrow democracy.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Guys, why do you keep going back to this dictator point? He just can't actually do it. The guardrails are there. No, the point of institutions is that like the people around the institutions upheld the institutions. If Mike Pence on that day was a different person, if it was in this case, if it was JD Vance there, JD Vance has answered this question. If it was JD Vance there instead of Mike Pence, there's a completely different outcome to January 6th. Now, maybe it still doesn't happen because there might be another guardrail after the vice president, after Mike Pence, but Mike Pence, a person, acted like a guardrail. If it's JD Vance instead of Mike Pence in that same position, JD Vance has said, although not like clearly because he's a fucking spineless loser, but we can infer that he would do the opposite. He would have done what Mike Pence couldn't do. And that's another guardrail gone through, whatever means that he has. And just because, and those guardrails can be removed at any point. That's like the problem, is that you can just, the democracy is only a democracy insofar that people want it to be a democracy. So if enough people in your government don't want it to be a democracy anymore, and they have enough power to change that outcome, you may not have a democracy anymore. And thankfully, on January 6th, people like Mike Pence kept the democracy going. But if we have another Jan 6, it might not go that way because now we have JD Vance there. That I don't know how that separates this point that this guy's making from any other thing they're saying. It still makes Trump a dictator. Just because you can't do a thing doesn't mean you aren't subtly the thing.
If you want to talk about people who haven't accepted the results of elections, Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, Stacey Abrams.
Hillary Clinton conceded the next day. I don't know about Al Gore, but I'm pretty sure he also conceded, maybe after a couple court cases. But
they all have said these were illegitimate elections or there was outside interference. There is nothing.
Yeah, I'm almost certain Al Gore conceded eventually. Trump still hasn't, is the big difference.
You guys are listen, just hear me for a second. Consider, yes, they conceded. Okay, so they conceded and he didn't. Okay.
Immediately abandons his point. Nice meeting.
Okay, so by the magical power of saying I concede, that somehow makes us a democracy and not a dictator.
Wait, what? Completely abandons his point. Yes, if you concede, you concede. But do you think that Hillary Clinton didn't concede when she said she conceded? Do you think that there's something else going on there? Do you think she secretly in the back, she said she conceded, but secretly in the back she didn't concede? Did she send a false slate of electorates to the fucking, oh, no, wait, that was just Trump.
Leadership, you guys are obsessing over this thing.
Trump can't even say it, by the way. Just to be clear on the difference here. Trump can't even say it.
Most Americans don't actually care that much about.
I agree. We've got to leave it there. We've run out of time. Great panel. Thank you all very much indeed, and come back.
Some guy. I don't know if I care. No common ground. Do I care about this guy? Bill O'Reilly? I don't know.
I appreciate it. Well, I'm joined now by the host of No Spin News and the author of a forthcoming book, Confronting the Presidents, Bill O'Reilly. Bill, great to see you.
Is it really, Piers? Is it really great to see me? I don't think I've ever heard that before. People usually flee when I'm in the room.
I used to watch your old show in this very building for many years, and you and I knew each other a bit when I was working at CNN, and it's good to talk to you. I can't actually think of many people better placed or more experienced in this world of presidency and presidents than you to try and put this in perspective. If you're a young person, you might think, well, this is all a bit crazy. If you're a bit older, like me or you, this is completely unprecedented, isn't it, what we're going through now?
Yeah. Woodrow Wilson is the closest thing to it. At the end of his second term, he had a stroke. Nobody knew about it, kept it from the press and the public. His wife, Edith Wilson, ran the government for about 18 months. I write about that in my upcoming book, Confronting the Presidents, which evaluates each of the 45 men, whether they hurt or helped America. It's going to be a big bestseller. But anyway, Wilson is the closest to Joe Biden resigning because of health reasons. LBJ, 1968, also has similarities because his policies in Vietnam particularly overwhelmed him. They were such bad policies. and he couldn't win. The party knew it. They wanted Robert Kennedy to run instead of LBJ, and LBJ acquiesced to that. So there is precedent in American history.
But I think
also,
I was
another
talking.
one too. Technically, this one didn't actually happen, but I'm pretty sure Jimmy Carter was asked to step down because he was so fucking unpopular. He said, "No, I don't care. I'm going to run anyways," and then got steamrolled by Nixon or Reagan.
Talking sort of more collectively about the
it's happened both ways in the past. So
last few weeks, in the sense of
and
the
point of
debate.
that, bringing that up, by the way, is just that Joe Biden can stay in the race if he wants to stay in the race. He doesn't have to drop out. That's what makes it part of it.
Which was probably the most extraordinary debate we've.
And actually, further on that point, you just know if every single Democrat and all the donors pulled out and everyone and voters were like not voting for it, you just know Republicans would call that undemocratic, that Joe Biden was staying in the race. He would say, all these people want Joe Biden to step down and he won't do it. He won't give up his delegates. He's not a Democratic candidate. He's trying to subvert democracy.
We've ever seen, certainly on television in presidential history. Then the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, where he came within a quarter of an inch of being killed, and then Biden stepping aside and so late in the day. That collectively feels to me like a pretty extraordinary few weeks. How do you think this now plays out, Bill?
Well, it's been a lively 9 days here in the colonies. I'll tell you that. It goes back to the traditional campaign now. So it's Harris against Trump, Democrats against Republicans. Who's going to win? There's a debate scheduled September 10th. I think that'll come off, and Americans will decide. The candidates couldn't be further apart. There's absolutely no common ground between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, none. So like your government and voters over in Great Britain, it's a stark contrast. But it does go back into the traditional realm now of campaigning for 4 months, and then we all vote in November.
You know, I spoke to Donald Trump on Saturday night after he appeared at the comeback rally after the assassination attempt. And I did find it quite extraordinary that he not only found the strength in the moment of being shot to stand up and show that defiant raised fist. And
by the way, what actually happened? Donald Trump went down on the ground, stayed there for like 2 minutes, finally got the all clear, got up, said, "Where the fuck are my shoes?" Actually, he was just more like, "Where are my shoes?" And then after getting his shoes, says, wait, and then poses for a photo op. That's what happened. It didn't happen. It didn't happen at the breast of fucking fire. There wasn't chaos everywhere. Everything was pretty calm. They got the all clear to pick him up and go. He had been on the ground covered by the bodies of his Secret Service for like 2 minutes, and then he got up and was like, "Oh, I need to find my shoes." And then he got his shoes, and then and then he was like, wait, and then he did his pose. That's what happened. It's not like this. I hate this fucking description of people who are like, "Oh, he was so brave and under fire. He raised his fist in defiance."
Say fight. But that within a week, he was back on a stage in public, exposed for 2 hours in front of tens of thousands of people, none of whom he would have known. I mean, that does take a lot of personal strength to do that. How impactful will that be, do you think, on election voting? The fact that Trump has shown himself, when it really mattered, I guess, to be a proper leader.
He'll pick up a few votes, but not that many. I mean, his favorability rating this week in America is up to its highest level I think it's ever been. But that'll fade. It's a lot like the Teddy Roosevelt, 1912. Roosevelt got shot in the chest by some nut, but he had a speech and his eyeglass case inside his jacket, and it blunted the bullet. And Teddy, being Teddy, robust, went along with the speech and didn't stop, and then kept his campaign. Trump is a lot like Teddy Roosevelt. He's a guy who's out there. He's larger than life. He's got a lot of energy. He's not going to let the bastards get him down. He's fight. And that's his personality. He's very pugnacious, a lot like Winston Churchill, but not with Churchill's sense of decorum, which when I spoke to Trump while he was making his decision to run this time around, I said, you ought to read Winston Churchill's comeback papers. on how he did it after the British threw him out after World War II. He regained the prime ministership. You ought to read how he did it. Now, I'm sure Trump didn't do that. He's not a reader. He doesn't do that. But both Churchill and Trump, and Teddy Roosevelt, big, larger-than-life, charismatic people, and that evokes both love and hate. So it's the bland men that, kind of are in the background. They don't evoke passion, but the big men do.
In terms of his campaign, obviously, and he said this to me on Saturday, that he hoped Joe Biden would stay in the race as long as possible because clearly he could see that he was losing his faculties and his cognitive ability to even know what day it is. Now he's got someone in Kamala Harris who has to date been pretty unpopular, has not done particularly well as vice president, has a record that can be picked apart. But certainly, I watched her last night. She's telegenic. She's clearly not stupid. She's eloquent. She's articulate. She has a warmth about her. She has a certain charisma. And she now has the whole power of the Democrat machinery crashing behind her, including a ton of money, a ton of high-profile people, and so on. That will certainly help her. Can she possibly beat Trump, do you think?
Sure. Not only does she have the Democratic machine behind her, but she's got the media behind it, the American corporate media. So that's now an alliance, all right? So in America, we don't have a free press anymore because it's run by corporations, and the corporations make calculations based on profit and power. So it's not like it used to be when I was working for ABC News and CBS News as a correspondent all over the world, where we were told to gather information and present it.
Now, theoretically, I laugh, but I also kind of in agreement. I'm in agreement in the sense of like the corporatism. It's a funny way to describe it because, I laugh because what's happening in Canada is Pierre Poilievre wants to defund our news networks, CBC, predominantly, because he wants to bring in a free and fair press. But this guy brings up a good point that if you defund the CBC, then what happens is that now it becomes behest to capitalism. And all that you're going to care about as a news industry is how many clicks can you drive and who's going to be the nicest to you. So if Pierre Poilievre wants CBC, now this is what he doesn't actually care. He just wants to feign popularity. He just wants to be a populist on this. And also his dipshit supporters are just like, as long as I'm not bankrolling it, I don't give a fuck what they do. They could be as clickbaity as they want, which is retarded. But anyways, so when you're a corporate media, you only care about clicks and you only care about who's going to give you the most amount of show. So you might show favoritism towards one candidate if you think they're going to win, or if they do win, that they'll help you out. Kamala Harris is going to be much more favorable towards CNN than Fox News. Now she might not defund one of them, but obviously Donald Trump might end up trying to and I'm trying to tie the two of Canadian politics to the U.S. politics, but Donald Trump might actually try to fucking blow up CNN in a fucking crazy sense. Because you can't defund CNN in the United States. I don't know what you would be able to do to shut them down as a sitting president, but Donald Trump would find a way to do it. Whereas Kamala Harris just would have to let Fox News exist. So, and then in Fox News' mind, they'll support Trump because if Trump can somehow find a way to blow up CNN, then cool, now they have a monopoly on all news. Anyways, back to Canada. Yeah, if you defund the CBC, then they just go to making clickbait titles, I would agree that it deteriorates our ability to have a free and fair press. Where the whole point of why it was a big deal when Elon said that it's state-sponsored media when CBC isn't state-sponsored media. State-sponsored media means that you're getting marching orders from your state. So RT, Russia Today, is a state-sponsored media service because they're getting marching orders from the Russian state. CBC doesn't get any marching orders. They only get money. And the money is just there so that you have the ability to report and do whatever you want, and you're always constantly funded no matter what. And it allows you to have the freedom to gather as much information as you can about a story and present only the facts, completely ignoring your ability to actually drive profit off of this thing. You're trying to remove profit from the equation and only report on the news. Your only task is to report factually is to report factually on the news. And the money has to be bipartisan. The problem is that Pierre Poilievre has made it partisan. So even though I don't think CBC is unfair, especially now because they don't want to come off as being unfair towards Pierre Poilievre, but Pierre Poilievre will never show up on he'll never take questions because he's playing populist. So what was I fucking saying? God damn it. Yeah, if you defund the CBC, then you hurt our ability to have a free and fair press, because now they're going to be worrying more about clicks and likes instead of gathering just information, playing information. And the funding for that, the funding for our news networks in Canada should be a bipartisan issue so that you don't have any potential for bias. If you are the one party who's calling for defunding the media, well then I would understand if the media is slightly biased towards your position, because it's like, why would I root for, if you're a guy writing an article, it's like, am I really going to sit here and write an article rooting for a guy who's trying to get me fired? What? Like, yeah.
No matter what it was, that's gone.
That still happens.
Now it's point of view journalism. We're talking to the choir. We want the choir to watch us or read our paper, and that's where we make our.
And again, to finish up, the biggest problem is the dipshit fucking idiots who are like, I don't care what goes on CBC as long as I'm not paying for it. I don't know why a Canadian has a southern accent, but they do now. I don't care what happens on CBC as long as I'm not paying for it. Bro, you have zero fucking integrity. It's like you don't actually give a fuck about fake news or true news. You just don't want to pay for it. It's just so stupid.
Money, so you better damn well.
If you did actually care about it, you would advocate for reform of the CBC, or like opening investigations into the biases of CBC. But no, you just wanted to fund them because you're a fucking loser.
Do it, or you're not going to be working here. So free press, forget it. That doesn't exist. So when you have 85% of the American media lined up behind Kamala Harris and all the big money Hollywood people and Wall Street people, BlackRock, things like that, she has got plenty of resources. But you make a mistake if you think she's articulate. She is not. She can read the teleprompter. She can't think extemporaneously.
Wait, do you think Trump can? Hold on. Trump, who some reports are saying that the only reason he got hit in the ear is because the teleprompter screen exploded and sent glass shards towards him. That guy.
She can't. And you're going to see her being
the guy who the guy who can't read the teleprompter, has an error, does a shoulder shake, and then like gives up on whatever he's reading.
Protected from people like me and you. We're not going to get to interview Kamala Harris. She'll never sit for interviews like that, ever. It's going to be the same strategy that Biden employed for 3.5 years. You stay away from the press. You don't hold press conferences. You select cupcake interviewers to come in and even have to give the questions in advance to Kamala Harris. That will happen. You're not going to see her on the firing line. And the Democratic strategy is the same as it's always been. We aren't running on our record because they have no record to run on. We're running against Trump, who's the...
Oh, by the way, just fanning the flames, Gunther Eagleman. Remember, 10 days ago, the enemy shot our president in the face. The enemy being a Republican? Huh.
Devil. That is it. Trump's the devil, so vote for us. You can't defend open borders. You can't defend all of the price rises on everything imaginable in the United States. You can't defend it. It's indefensible. You can lie about it, and certainly both parties do, because the press is so lazy and stupid that it won't call those lies out. Like, it used to, but it won't any longer. So we have a big mess here. And it's going to come down to whether there are enough of us in the media to tell people, here it is. You vote for Kamala Harris, you're voting for the most liberal president in history by far. You vote for Donald Trump, you're voting for a guy who's volatile. And I don't believe he's a threat to democracy. I don't believe any of that. I wrote a book, The United States of Trump. I chronicle his style. But he's got 4 years. And most Americans prospered during those 4 years. They did. The economic stats prove it. But Trump himself, why did you drop out, Mr. President? Why did you drop out of the election? Was it a difficult decision to make?
Okay.
Is a rather undisciplined character. And when I talk to him, which is, I've known him 35 years, I keep telling him, Mr. President, step back. You want to win? That's your best revenge. Discipline yourself. Last night he called Kamala Harris dumb as a rock. Why? Is that going to get Donald Trump one vote? The people who despise Kamala Harris already believe she's dumb as a rock. Do you have to tell them for the 80th time? No. Advance your cause by pointing out what you did and what you will do in specific terms.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, actually, on this very point, I think if he goes too ad hominem with Kamala Harris, he's going to play into her hands, and she will use that as a, look at what he's like, he's a monster, blah, blah, blah. If he just picks her off on, sorry?
Yeah, remember, she's going to do that.
Go ahead.
Okay, Kamala Harris, her whole campaign is ad hominem, the Latin, to the man, okay? That's her whole campaign. He's a felon, he's a rapist, he's a racist, he's this, he's that. But if Trump does not react well to that, obviously. I don't think you would. But at this point in history, the best strategy is let her do that. All right, if she wants to be a gutter snipe, let her. Because Americans aren't stupid. They can see.
The trouble is Americans are stupid.
Bill, if you think about Donald Trump, and
you can see that, by the way, you can actually see that because during the last debate between Biden and Trump, who won? Trump won. Not because of policy, but because he had a lot of snipes and quippy lines to say towards Biden and lied a bajillion times, and then Biden had to try to correct his lies and then also talk about his policy, but no one gives a fuck.
Known him a long time too, 20 years, not as long as you, but his ability to rise above that kind of thing is very limited.
But he's smart enough to do it. So all that means is he has to want to do it.
Wait, what? And yeah, it appears to say that he doesn't.
How important will the debate be, do you think? Because obviously the last one with Biden turned out to be unbelievably consequential. I've got a feeling that him against Kamala Harris on September the 10th, it could be equally consequential, couldn't it?
Probably not. Number one, the fix is in already. Disney, ABC is holding the debate. They hate Trump. They hate him. Hate his guts. I hope the rules
who hosted last debate? CNN? Who hated Trump? How did that go? Okay.
Are the same, so that the microphones are muted when the candidates aren't speaking. That will help Trump. But Kamala Harris will get out there and she'll just attack him one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other.
Like Trump?
And Trump is probably going to be provoked in doing the same thing. And so nobody will get anything. If Trump would step back and discipline himself and use a Reagan line, there you go again. What about the border? What about the prices in the grocery store? What about you bailing out rioters after George Floyd? I mean, Kamala Harris got 55.
Okay, and guess what? Kamala could just bring up Jan 6th, horrible COVID reaction, no healthcare plan. Okay.
0. Things that you can go after that she cannot answer. 50. Now, do you think the ABC News moderators will ask any of the 50? They will not. Okay, they won't. And that's why I say the fix is in. See, when I talk to my overseas friends, they don't understand what's really happening here in America. I do.
I gotta start pressing the.
I run an independent news agency, which is the most successful independent agency in the world. In the world. Because I don't do that stuff. I'm a fact-based guy, not an ideologue. I'm not a party apparatchik. But overseas, people don't understand the absolute chaos that there is in the political realm here in America.
Oh, apparatchik.
There's also, I mean, people talk a lot about the division in America being never as bad as it is today. Do you agree with that, Bill? I mean, I think back to the 60s and how unbelievably toxic that decade was, and with a number of assassinations of presidents and then his brother and then Martin Luther King and so on. And that was a pretty extraordinary decade. Do you feel that America is more or less divided today than it was then?
Excellent question, because you framed it properly. A lot of people ask the divided question, but they don't frame it the way you did, which is excellent. Civil War run-up was the most divisive time in American history. The Revolutionary War run-up was the second. 50% of the colonists supported the king here, okay? Only 50% wanted to break away. Both of those override what's happening now. The 60s was based on one issue. Vietnam was an issue division. Now it's a cultural division. You have traditional Americans like me that understand the country is noble and strong because we rely on a justice system that's fair, on patriotism, and on hard work. You have a progressive movement that wants to put skin color and gender above achievement. That division is never going to be healed. There's never going to be common ground there, ever. And people are furious. Families break up over it. So the cultural divide here at this point in history is enormous. And the only thing that might heal that is a charismatic leader who would emerge and talk common sense to the folks, to level with the folks. Look, we're all Americans, and this is what you have to do to prosper. And stop with the DEI stuff and the liberals are the devil stuff. Stop. All right? Let's get solutions to our problems. And we are in short supply with that right now.
It's very timely, the book you've got coming, Confronting the Presidents. In that you talk
Republicans, the party of solutions.
about all the presidents of the United States. We've heard a lot of
What's their platform again?
people say Trump was the worst president of all time. Others say he was the greatest. We've heard Trump call Joe Biden this week the worst of all time. Others say he's been one of the most effective presidents of modern times. How do you rank Trump based on his first 4 years and Joe Biden's tenure in terms of their presidencies?
Okay, so Confronting the Presidents is out September 10th, and it's going to be an enormous best-selling book. I am the most successful nonfiction author in the world. Did you know that? In the world.
I didn't know that.
Okay, well, good, because most people don't, because the press will never write about it. But this book is very focused. We don't rank them, okay? But I make it clear that Abraham Lincoln is the best president ever because of all he had to overcome. And James Buchanan, Lincoln's, who led into Lincoln, is the worst because he was a coward, he was corrupt, and he allowed the South to rise in its rebellion and did absolutely nothing to protect the Union. Joe Biden I have ranked the second worst president in our history right now, and that will stand because he's done now. And the reason I did that was because Biden created problems. He didn't solve any problems. He created them. Wait. It's Joe Biden alone who opened the southern border. And now we have between 10 and 15 foreign nationals in this country unsupervised.
What? Isn't there like equal amounts of like the what? The southern border shit has been a problem since Obama. I don't think it's substantially worse under Biden in such a way that you could call him the worst president of all time over it. But okay. And he also he actually did an executive action to try to curb it too. So that's just like stupid on so many ways.
He did that by himself, and he has never once explained why he did it, ever. Now you can't.
Oh wait, or unless of course he's literally saying that emergency action was him opening the border because he's like a deranged lunatic who's like saying that the 5K is the bar.
Create a massive social and fiscal problem like that and be ranked anywhere near as an effective president, and then I can go down the list.
What the fuck? You think Joe Biden is the reason for the border? The border crisis has literally been a thing forever. What do you? Unless of course he means like back. Oh, and maybe he means back in the Obama days? Maybe? Which doesn't make any sense because he wasn't president at the time, but okay.
Under Biden, working class Americans are suffering grievously. Real wages are down. People don't have any money in the bank. They can barely make their bills.
Why might that be? Isn't it from the inflation that, Trump brought in because of his massive deficit spending and then COVID happened?
The public school system has collapsed. DEI, just trying to get by that, is insane. This isn't equal justice for all here. You can commit a violent crime in most major American cities, and they won't even hold you on bail, even if you have a gun, if you're in a progressive district. What's Biden on that? Where is he on that?
It was a DEI, whatever.
I can run down the list. You name the issue, I can tell you how Biden screwed it up. So he's the second worst, and we back that up in the book with facts, not emotion.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Okay, let me hit record on my bullshit here. Fuck me. And then,
Can I ask you though? Sorry, sir. I'll just ask you super quickly. Your minister said they're going on vacation. No, don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me. Then please.
More than any political leader on the face of the earth, Justin Trudeau carefully manages his media appearances. Who's allowed access to him? Who can get into press conferences? Who he'll arrest if they get too close?
wait, is it gonna show it?
Who he'll sit down for an interview
What I'm
with.
looking for, there's literally a scene in this, by the way.
You had to be in advance, call the RCMP because I was going to ask questions that you didn't want. I wasn't the CBC, I wasn't CTV, I wasn't Global News, so you had to be arrested, so we came in.
Following his catastrophic by-election loss in Toronto, the Prime Minister has gone into hiding. He refuses to call a caucus.
He cut away from it! Weasel!
And his administration is
Just an
gone
FYI, right here, he turns around and then it does. This is at the start of the interview.
into hiding. He refuses to call a caucus meeting, and his administration is hanging on by a thread.
Shows it.
The line is right here.
Okay.
Sure, thank you. Are you looking for a replacement right
So he had
The line is right here.
So, by the way, after a minute of him saying that he doesn't interview anyone and he's very careful about interviewing people, Trudeau turns around, shoos his Secret Service away, his bodyguards away, and talks to him.
Sure, thank you. Are you looking for a replacement right now?
No, I am absolutely not. I am running in the next election.
Are you concerned at all about your poll numbers?
No, I am not.
What causes you to not be concerned?
After reviewing open source information and discerning the whereabouts of Prime
Okay, please get a better mic. Oh my fucking god.
Minister Justin Trudeau's plane, we realized he was in hiding in Tofino. The mainstream
In
media
hiding, he's on vacation. You can go on vacation as a politician. It's okay. I hate this too because they'll never, ever mention it. The moment Pierre Poilievre gets in office, Pierre Poilievre could go on vacation for a whole fucking year and they won't mention it.
media was calling it a vacation, but we knew where he was, and we knew that this was the only opportunity we'd have to get questions answered.
Mark Collins said that going on a road trip is equivalent to setting the world on fire.
You can take a summer fun time vacation where you're locked in a car for 10 consecutive days, nonstop with no bathroom breaks, and the Conservatives have a plan for you to have that summertime fun. And the cost? Give up the future of the planet.
You chartered a government jet to here, to Tofino. I'm not going to do the math on how much carbon that burns.
Shockingly, we had a 13-minute conversation with the Prime Minister on a beach. For the first time, perhaps, in his entire political career, he didn't lean on the police to stop a journalist from doing their job. This full interview is available at thecountersignal.com.
It's like unironically, it's like watching a flat earther. Like, you know, in the videos, like the documentary that came out where they're like, the whole world's after us and trying to stop us from seeing that the world is flat. And then they do a test and they're like, it's like the clip, whatever, where they're like, oh shit, wait, are you shining the light through the thing? I can't see you. Raise the light above your head. Oh, I can see you. And it's showing that the earth is like round. So it's like, Keenan here's like, he hasn't let anyone talk to him forever. He's in hiding on a beach in the middle of nowhere. I got 15 minutes with him, by the way.
For Newsroom Insiders, 13 minutes, unaltered, unedited, conversation with the Prime Minister, asking questions that the CBC would never dare to ask.
What shampoo do you use?
Do you see any similarities between yourself and Joe Biden's current political situation?
No.
Please support the work that we are doing by becoming a Newsroom Insider so that we can do more of this, so that we can ask the questions the mainstream media refuses to. So we can get to the story.
That's objectively fucking hilarious. What? Let me just see what the...
In a tit-for-tat system, tat is not evil, it's essential. You have to make sure that there are corrective mechanisms for tit behavior, that if somebody does a wrong, there has to be a tat to correct the behavior and to discourage the behavior. Sometimes you get into this habit when you're dealing with people personally where you don't want to set healthy boundaries between you and the other person because you kind of feel bad telling another person what they can do and you end up being kind of a pushover, and you're actually making two people worse off there. You're making yourself worse off, which is immediately noticeable because now you feel like because you've got people that walk all over you, but you're also making the other person worse off. If you imagine, like any person that has trouble setting boundaries, if you would ask them, well, what if your friend told you, hey, I'm not really comfortable when you do X, Y, Z? That person would almost always say, oh yeah, of course, I would never do that again, right? So you're in a world where when you set boundaries for behavior for other people, and you all have better guidelines.
Also, just on this quickly, if it's also really good to set boundaries, because if you set a boundary to somebody and they tell you to fuck off, you just never speak to them again.
For how to act, it actually improves everybody's behavior. It makes everybody happier, even though that might seem a little bit counterintuitive initially. If you allow some people to run around without the tat and they can just tit all day, then introducing back some of that tat and saying, hey, if you're involved in this behavior and you end up like something bad happens to you, like it's a around find out situation. You're jumping into a pool that says warning sharks and then you get eaten by a shark. I mean, like, I don't want anybody to get eaten by sharks, but what did you expect to happen, you know? There has to be that like cultural corrective mechanism, and right now it does not exist for conservatives. There's none of it. Trump is deranged and he says so many deranged things, and for you to even bring that up, oh, you've got Trump derangement syndrome, or oh, like, oh, you just want to call us fascists and not. Meanwhile, his vice presidential candidate is another guy who said Donald Trump was like, even his vice presidential candidate says it. Like, but you don't see any of that corrective mechanism on the conservative side. You've never seen Fox News broadcast like, did Trump go too far with this? No, you see just the opposite. That environment is not a good one. I don't think there's a virtue in operating as a pushover. I think that you have to show strength sometimes, and I don't mean strength like Donald Trump, but I mean strength in that you have values that you believe in, and when other people aren't willing to cooperate in that system, you can't keep bending over backwards to accommodate them when they won't accommodate you. That's just a parasite. That's a leech. It's not a cooperative system, and it leads to destruction, I think.
It's not a symbiotic relationship. Okay. I'm so glad I got all that on recording. Fucking so dumb. Let's see. Is there anything happening? Oh, okay. More NAYC, NAYQ. NAWC.
And all of this talk about, oh, you guys are afraid to talk about the Trump. I don't give a shit. I'm not American. That's your problem. That's your country, right? I generally don't talk about presidential elections in other countries. It's not my place. You wanted it, you got it. Now you're unhappy with it. Door's right there.
You can't talk about freedom of speech, but then when it's not aligned with what you're thinking, you can't say stuff like that. You're.
Oh, it's an Let me just go get the aberration. Yu-Gi-Oh's missing something. Let's go. More Yu-Gi-Oh content. The thing that everyone, even myself, cares about so much. I'm absorbing it. Burning the Destiny.
I think the only unfortunate.
Let's watch this first.
Hey guys, Paul here.
Hey.
The thing about this whole video is that it might have been out of focus. All right. Today's topic, by popular demand, everyone wanted us to cover my girl Destiny and her recent comments. And if you aren't aware, after the Trump assassination attempt, in which I think someone else in the crowd ended up passing away from the bullet that missed Trump. A lot of people had a lot of things to say. A lot of people were talking about it. We were on vacation, so I didn't really give a and also, I'm not American, so not my country, not my problem. Destiny made some comments,
I'm so
essentially.
Sorry. Oh no! Oh, the focus. Fuck.
Laughing, didn't really care. If I could summarize everything in a very gleeful tone, he was saying,
It hurts my eyes. I don't know is this like I feel like this is the way people describe when they take their glasses off, or actually, I think you can experience this as a good vision person. If you put somebody's glasses on and everything becomes blurry, that's
fuck around and find out, which I hope is a pretty fair summation of what he was essentially trying to say. He says, if you're somebody who
your brain knows that what you're looking at is fucked and it's trying to fix it, but it can't.
Who engages in violent rhetoric as Trump does, according to him, and if you're one of his supporters who supports somebody who's an insurrectionist who wanted to overthrow the government, suspend the Constitution, yada, 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 I don't really care if bad things happen to you because you're the kind of person who essentially laughing to say. A lot of people were talking about it. We were on vacation, so I didn't really give a and also, I'm not American, so not my country, not my problem. Destiny made some comments, essentially laughing, didn't really care. If I could summarize everything in a very gleeful tone, he was saying, fuck around and find out, which I hope is a pretty fair summation of what he was essentially trying to say. He says, if you're somebody who engages in violent rhetoric, as Trump does, according to him, and if you're one of his supporters who supports somebody who's an insurrectionist who wanted to overthrow the government, suspend the Constitution, yada, 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 I don't really care if bad things happen to you because you're the kind of person who encourages people to violence. that was a mistake. And he's like, I don't care. And he said so by making jokes. And a lot of people had a problem with it. They felt it was insensitive. It was disgusting, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a fair summation?
Yeah.
All right. I saw some people saying he endorses assassination attempts, or he's saying people should. It's not what he said from everything I've seen. And I'll probably post the clips of him talking about it. He hasn't said that.
Get the dude, the firefighter guy, Trump, the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay, just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am 100%.
A person in a crowd cheering for and supporting a traitor to this country caught astray, I'm so sad, please. As well as Donald Trump incited an insurrection and then was granted full criminal immunity for possibly all of his involvement. I have zero sympathy for anything that happens to him or anyone who supports him. If I've offended anyone with my recent tweets, I'd like to make things right. DM me and I'll buy you front row seats to the next Trump rally. There was this moment where Piers Morgan says you seem almost gleeful, then saying that makes you frankly despicable, with Destiny responding,
I don't think I'm gleeful about anything. I don't think anybody should die. I don't think anybody deserves to die.
Which you can still say is incredibly bad, but I just want to be accurate as possible. So, listen, I'll say this, man. Sometimes y'all DM me or leave me comments. You're like, oh, you afraid to talk about your girl? I don't give a. First off, fuck you and fuck anybody who think I got a problem with saying this shit. I ain't afraid of saying none of this stuff. And I think a lot of you in the fan base have gotten very comfortable because you've seen that for a long time. We've covered trans women in sports or all this other stuff. So you think like we perfectly align with some of you on the far right where you guys are like, I don't believe in none of this. I'm not with you. I have no problem saying that. And if me saying that bothers you, you need to take a hike, okay? Just because I made fun of fucking dweeby liberals who go and want to have safe spaces and do all this corny shit, it does not mean I'm some right-winger who thinks all libs are bad, okay? That's you. Now, we don't align there. If you can handle that, stick around. If you can't, that's none of my business. But don't ever think that I'm afraid to espouse what I'm thinking just to keep you around. I don't care. I'm going to say my thoughts whether you leave or not, whether we go down 1 million subs or not. I don't care. And as far as what Destiny goes, I'm not bothered by it at all. Why? Because the way he talks is normal for American political landscape, okay? I have seen it degenerate over the last 10 years, especially since Trump joined, where people think I got a problem.
Or anyone who supports him. If I've offended anyone with my recent tweets, I'd like to make things right. DM me and I'll buy you front row seats to the next Trump rally. There was this moment where Piers Morgan says you seem almost gleeful, then saying that makes you frankly despicable, with Destiny responding,
I don't think I'm gleeful about anything. I don't think anybody should die. I don't think anybody deserves to die.
Which you can still say is incredibly bad, but I just want to be accurate as possible. So, listen, I'll say this, man. Sometimes y'all DM me or leave me comments. You're like, oh, you afraid to talk about your girl? I don't give a. First off, fuck you and fuck anybody who think I got a problem with saying this shit. I ain't afraid of saying none of this stuff. And I think a lot of you in the fan base have gotten very comfortable because you've seen that for a long time. We've covered trans women in sports or all this other stuff. So you think like we perfectly align with some of you on the far right where you guys are like, I don't believe in none of this. I'm not with you. I have no problem saying that. And if me saying that bothers you, you need to take a hike, okay? Just because I made fun of fucking dweeby liberals who go and want to have safe spaces and do all this corny shit, it does not mean I'm some right-winger who thinks all libs are bad, okay? That's you. Now, we don't align there. If you can handle that, stick around. If you can't, that's none of my business. But don't ever think that I'm afraid to espouse what I'm thinking just to keep you around. I don't care. I'm going to say my thoughts whether you leave or not, whether we go down 1 million subs or not. I don't care. And as far as what Destiny goes, I'm not bothered by it at all. Why? Because the way he talks is normal for American political landscape, okay? I have seen it degenerate over the last 10 years, especially since Trump joined, where people say all kinds of stuff, including Trump himself. I've watched Trump say he wanted to punch protesters in the face.
And he's walking out, and we're not allowed, the guards are very gentle with him. He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing, like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Trump tweet. Fanning the flames, by the way. Fan the flames, by the way. Trump tweets, only good Democrat is a dead Democrat video. O'Rourke responds, refuses them. Okay. Where's the audio? What happened?
And we'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi, who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know?
And we'll talk to you about that later.
Yeah, but there's not going to be time. I'm just curious if you have the
speak
right
with
now.
Shane, please.
But you don't.
Sick and tired of you guys.
The last guy that came in here, you did the same thing. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here. The last guy did the same thing. You were the guardian?
Yes, and you just broke my glasses.
The last guy did the same damn thing.
You just body slammed me and broke my glasses.
Destiny and others have essentially said is
Body slam a random interviewer, like a reporter. Oh my!
being a hypocrite in this situation, tweeting out a screenshot of Rubin memeing about Hammer Time after what happened to Paul Pelosi. Also linking to when Rubin wrote, "Here's hoping that AOC, Rashida, and Ilhan join Aaron Bushnell and his
This one's
brave."
fucking insane. This is actually fucking insane. Unironically, Dave should be fucking banned off the fucking platform. If like, what the fuck is this?
Protest, who, if you don't remember, is the service member who lit himself on fire to protest what was happening in Gaza.
I've seen all kinds of politicians from Dan Crenshaw talking about punching Antifa people in the face and talk about violence all the time. It has become normalized in a first world country like America to engage in politics like a third world country. That's how y'all talk about violence and shit in your country. And it's not just Dems. I've seen Republicans do it. And so do I really care that someone else made a fuck around? I don't care. This is your playground. This is the sandbox that y'all created. You want to condemn all this behavior, you guys go ahead. But as an outsider, I'm just seeing more of the same.
And the thing that happened is that you go on platforms and you call people from the left snowflakes because they're acting a certain way. Yep. Now look at you, you're doing the same thing. Yeah. You guys are doing the same thing. Yeah. Like a snowflake is not someone on the left. A snowflake is just someone that just can't handle being talked about.
Yep.
That's a snowflake, and you can be people on the right. Y'all can be snowflakes too. Yep. Because the way you're like, I can't believe that's what they doing over there.
Absolutely.
And then you do that over there too. It's just you're the same people. You have the same MO, the same modus operandi, and you have the same way of working as them. You just have different ways of thinking, but it's the same way.
How many times during the BLM protests were people talking about mowing them down or running them over, doing all kinds of violence? That was normal.
That was normal.
That's you guys talking about your fellow citizens and talking about how you guys want violence against them. And that was normal in the right circles. So don't sit here now and then act like somebody who doesn't care about the fact that a right-winger died is some big surprise to you. You know, that to me is a little bit pathetic. That's Elon Musk pathetic. All talking about, oh, I want to run a free speech platform. You're platforming everything under the sun, from neo to doesn't matter who it is, okay? You can even have the Ayatollah. He's up there, okay? They can spew whatever they want, anti-gay, anti-black, whatever. Destiny makes that joke, and then you want a pearl clutch? Bro, get him out of here. Get him out of here. This is the biggest amount of pearl clutching I ever seen from most of these people, and the hypocrisy is crazy. Now, if you want to say you're not okay with what Destiny said, I ain't got a problem with that.
You're fine to say.
You can say it's bad behavior, because at the end of the day, it's bad from everybody. Destiny's just engaging more with the bad. But do I actually care that all the people, all the pigs playing in the mud look like pigs? No. And I know this video is going to be unpopular with a lot of you. I also don't care. Don't ever think that I'm afraid to say what I'm going to say because it makes some of y'all upset or makes it. I don't give a shit. Is he my friend? Sure. Am I biased because of it? Probably. But honestly, when I sit back and think about it, and even when I talk about it with my people, none of them really disagreed that heavily. So that's how I feel about it. And all of this talk about, oh, you guys are afraid to talk about the I don't give a shit. I'm not American. That's your problem. That's your country, right? I generally don't talk about presidential elections in other countries. It's not my place. You wanted it, you got it. Now you're unhappy with it, door's right there.
You can't talk about freedom of speech, but then when it's not aligned with what you're thinking, you can't say stuff like that. That's not what freedom of speech means,
bro.
Freedom of speech actually means that the person that disagrees with you have the right to say it.
Yeah,
they have the right to say it. And depending on what they say, there's consequences, but they have the right to say it. Go ahead, say it. Say it out loud with your chest. It might not be in line with what I think. Bro, that's what freedom of speech is. So the minute you have this guy that does not agree with you and says something that you said in the past, it's still freedom of speech. You want it, or they want it too,
bro.
And that's how it works.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are it's pretty. You can disagree
what the fuck
with
is this fucking Photoshop? Holy fuck me, powder caked. Oh
someone
my God.
And the politics of someone. It's always going to be wild when you're gonna be like, oh yeah, if they die, people are gonna have a problem with that. That's for sure. You can disagree with the politics of some person and be like, yeah, disagree with the politics, but in wishing
focus because they didn't zoom in. Wait, is that the mic right there?
Death upon the person, or if death happens, like man, people are definitely gonna take they're gonna have a problem with it. I think what he was saying was a bit wild, but did he have the right to say it? I believe that he did have the right to say it. What I think was messed up thing, the weird thing, was him getting banned off all the social media and stuff like that.
To be clear, he was banned off of Kick and demonetized, which is like a degenerate platform for pedos and all kinds of KK.
Yeah.
Like, they allow everything on that platform that you could imagine in terms of degeneracy. I thought that it was weird that this was where they drew the line. But they did reinstatement, and I think he was demonetized on Twitter by Elon Musk. Free speech champion.
The guy that says, "Oh, I'm gonna buy this platform and I'm gonna allow all the free speech," but then you got that one person that does not agree with what
also who got on stage during an interview and said, and like a Muppet, literally looks like a fucking Muppet, goes, let him demonetize me, let him drop out. I don't care about the advertisers. Yeah, okay. It turns out you actually do care about the advertisers.
you're saying, and you're doing this exact same thing. You became the enemy, right? Side note, there's this comedy night here in Montreal in French that basically it's GHB, Gore Hardcore, and I don't remember what the B stands for, but basically you go in there and you do comedy and you push your jokes to the limit, and it's made for that, right? You go there and you say wild stuff in a comedy setting, right? Jokes that you're never gonna do again and everything and stuff. And I was on the stage at that thing and I didn't remember. And I was talking the whole night. There was some other people that went on stage, made jokes about PDF files jokes and all those great jokes and stuff like that. I go on stage, I do a couple of jokes, then I do some jokes on gay people, right? And one of them in the crowd, there was a break. There was like an intermission in the show, and I saw one of the guy outside that was at the show, and he was like, "Oh no, yeah, that comedian, me, I can't like really." What he said was, I was not having it because the PDF jokes was alright, the grape jokes was cool, but when it was you said nah. You was like, nah, I'm not having it. You're a big hypocrite. You're a big hypocrite. I understand that comedy is just like a drunk uncle at Christmas. It's funny until he touches you. But at the end of the day, you're a big hypocrite. You're a big, huge hypocrite. And that's what it is. That my problem with that is that he's going to be on all those platforms, like you say, the Kick platform, which obviously you show. I'm not on the platform. I don't know.
I show you,
but
clips.
Everything you show me,
and this is what they
is, and this is where you draw the line.
Okay,
you draw the line at F around and find out. But you got people kissing teenagers, grown-ass men kissing teenagers, and you're cool with that.
You want to laugh? All the political commentators who always talk about how the left is about deplatforming all this stuff, how many of them did I see go online and complain to Elon, talk about this is hate speech, this is inciting, blah, blah, blah. You realize that they're quick to deplatform just as much as the lefties. They'll talk about it, and they'll laugh at liberals and be like, oh, deplatform is so bad. But the moment that them like this happened, they also yell for it. So
same people.
I might have spoken about liberals a lot because that's who I spend most of my time with, but over time and spending enough time around these folks, you just realize that they engage in the exact same stuff. They dox, they deplatform, they encourage all this kind of stuff.
Literally, as Destiny's getting fucking demonetized, just spam doxing random ass fucking
stuff from the biggest political commentators to the smallest ones. So
I think that they left and right, y'all the same people.
It really feels like
it's just because you think whenever you pause an action, you do an action, you just think it's righteous because it aligns with what you think.
Yup.
Whether it's left or right, y'all the same.
Yeah,
y'all the same. Well, but I did it because I did it to protect. Well, they did the same thing. They're doing the same thing as well, to protect or to whatever, or to go align or to erase what is wrong, what they believe is wrong. Y'all the same.
And everything we said is factual. You guys can go look this up. You can go look up the facts that a bunch of Republicans have been calling for violence for a long time. You can go look up the fact that a bunch of people on the right, big commentators, have been calling for deplatforming for a long time. So knowing that, I don't know how you guys are going to even argue, but guess what? At the end of the day, much like Ben Shapiro loves to say, what? Facts don't care about your feelings. And I have a feeling that most of the people who reacted to this situation had a very emotional response. That's what it is. I'm detached from all of this.
You guys are quick to say facts don't care about your feelings, when the facts aligns with your feelings, and then you say facts don't care about your feelings because you don't care about that fact. But when you don't care about that fact, that's you.
I think the only unfortunate thing about this whole video is that it might have been out of focus. No one even really watches anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, you can listen to it.
Yeah. It's out of focus, but I'm not re-recording this shit.
Is the audio fire?
Audio works.
Blame the whole shit.
That's it. Anyways, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Yo, I predict this video gonna have a
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Here. So I've been thinking lately that Yu-Gi-Oh has been missing something, and it's been missing it for a while.
Let me think. Thinking. Calculating. 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 Thinking. Thinking. Calculating. 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 Thinking. Oh god. I kind of want to play Elden Ring, but also so tortured. Actually tortured. Oh, baby. Oh, was I doing anything with Vicky?
Now, it's nothing super secretive or obscure. There's no riddle here. It's an anime. Yu-Gi-Oh! Currently does not have an airing anime. And I think that it's really starting to affect the card game and really probably just the brand as a whole a lot as a result. Now, I should probably get the elephant in the room out of the way first. I'm well aware of Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s and Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. However, they, in my opinion at least, aren't super relevant to this discussion because we're really going to be talking more about the TCG and how having an actively airing anime kind of benefits that. And those anime are more so really associated with Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel, which is its own separate game. So, yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS was basically the last mainline Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime series that we got. That's to say, it followed Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, which followed Zexal, which followed 5Ds, and so on. And a lot of people will probably look at this and think, well, what does that really have to do with the trading card game? And technically, on the surface, not a lot, right? A lot of people still play Yu-Gi-Oh! And a lot of the decks that you play and enjoy today might really have nothing to do with the anime. You might be like me and you enjoy playing Exo Sisters, Rika, Vanquish Soul, decks that, you can play those whether or not there's an anime airing at all. The thing is, though, I think that when Yu-Gi-Oh! Has an actively airing anime, it is a great on-ramp for people that feels a little bit more organic and is sort of... So basically, think about it this way. If there's an anime on TV, or it's even just on Crunchyroll or whatever, and somebody wants to try it out, then that might cause them to start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! When there's not an actively airing anime, then you kind of don't get that. And there are other things too. Like in mainline sets, you'll get a lot of anime cards. You guys might remember in early VRAINS era, after Coda the Duelist, right? We would be constantly getting new Goki cards, new Trickstar cards, new Altergeist cards.
Unfortunately, I don't care. You know what?
All right, so with the format being completely terrible for any WSTQ and Euros, and Konami showing practically zero incentive to change things for the better, I figured we could talk about...
What the fuck is in the background of the video? What is that? FBI? What? It looks like a video game.
What actually happened? Why did Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG become kind of unplayable in 2024? Please share your thoughts. I would love to know what you think about this topic, and also like the video if you enjoy it, of course. So number one card combos.
Simulator?
We could kind of put all of this under one umbrella and call it gameplay overall, but I want to get into the nitty-gritty of everything and just talk about all of the incredible, I'm sure you think they're incredible, one-card combos that they have been releasing lately. So I know it didn't actually start with Snake Eyes. This has been around for some time, but...
I don't know why I immediately thought that someone else was playing in the background. Maybe. I don't know why there's no couch here. No one's actually playing.
Snake has really hammered home the point. One-card combos are just horrible. They are terrible. Let's discuss this. So when you have a one-card combo, what happens is you have multiple extenders that you can draw, and you also have a lot of space for non-engine. And both these things are an issue, but let's address the non-engine, and that's a spoiler, in another point in today's video. So when you have the ability to force your opponent to interact with your one-card combo, you basically force them to waste cards because you know, and they low-key kind of know, that you have other extenders and plays of and just ways of dealing with the disruption in your hand anyway. And if you take a look at almost any feature match right now, any DB match, like if you just take a look at a tutorial where someone is teaching you how to play through hand traps because you're gonna be able to do it because of the one card combos, then you know that it's almost impossible for your opponent to win once you have that one card combo established. Snake Eyes, our favorite deck, has Snake Eye Ash, it has Bonfire, Wanted, Diabellstar, and now it has the Fiendsmith engine. So not only did they give another one card combo to an insanely overpowered
off-topic thing, but it pertains to language. When she says, the way she says Diabellstar, why does she say it that way? Now, I don't mean this, I know she has an accent. But what I mean is that, like, sometimes I look at words that are clearly derivatives of French, and so I'll say them with French pronunciation. So sometimes instead of saying Montreal, you can say Montreal. Or instead of saying, or like a famous, is it famous? Famous restaurant in Montreal, Saint-Hubert. If you're English, you might read that and go Saint Hubert's, but I know it's Saint-Hubert. And I will say it that way, and I'll change the way I pronounce a thing that could be pronounced in English. And is it the same thing? And because she speaks a different language, I don't know I forget where she's from, but because she speaks a different language, is it because of that language? And that's why I'm like, I can see what's happening, but I can't actually understand what's going on. It's a totally random off-topic thing, but it's something I just noticed. Where she'll say like how does she say Diabellstar?
power they give
Like,
has
so she says a bunch of
bomb
stuff.
Snake Eyes for your opponent to
She says a lot of things like I would say them.
win once you have that one card combo established. Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes, we say them similarly. There's an accent for sure, but we say Snake Eyes.
Our favorite deck has Snake Eye Ash. It
Snake Eye Ash, we say it similarly. A little bit of an accent, but similarly.
has Bonfire, Wanted, Diabellstar.
Wanted, and then I would say Diabellstar. She says
Has Snake Eye Ash. It has Bonfire, Wanted, Diabellstar, and
Diabellstar. Diabellstar. I don't know why, and I wonder if there's I'm trying to think if there's any examples I can find. I don't know. I think the best examples is like, but like those are very clearly those are words that clearly are French. So it's hard. Oh, maybe. Like, if I know the pronunciations of things, I'll say them. I'll just use. I know, not so. I don't think there's gonna. Can't think of. French that people. No, a lot of them are just. But the problem is that they're just French words. But maybe that's what's happening in her brain too. Maybe Diabellstar has a very similar, like very easily derivative word from something in her native language. I'll try to.
And now it has the Fiendsmith engine. So not only did they give another one card.
Oh, look, another bot. Hey, how is your day going? I was just getting bored. I was just getting bored. Thought to watch some streams. Who are you responding to? I didn't say anything to you. Are you just putting these messages out? What is happening here?
Combo to an insanely overpowered deck. They practice.
Yes, I'm gonna JoJo Bizarre's Adventure this. The next thing you're gonna say is, "Hi, I do art, and I know that your logo is bad, and you should get a new one." Something like that. Not gonna be exact, but
Practically released this 1-card combo to be abused, not just utilized, in almost any deck because it's so generic. So not only are they printing these kinds of combos for specific archetypes, a good example is Melodious, which Refrain is a 1-card combo. And I'm
Melodious is close, but it's Melodious. It's
not a fan of that, but when you have a deck that's not as overpowered as Snake Eyes, it's a little easier to deal with it, even if you dislike it, if you know what I mean. Let's talk about Fiendsmith again. It's generic, meaning it can be incorporated anywhere. So you can use a deck that has 1-card combos already, pair it with Fiendsmith, have another 1-card combo engine, and then force your opponent to play through your board or to even attempt to disrupt you, which they're not going to be able to do unless they just...
I think a snap thing just happened on my end. I understand the power of generic engines. Because in my brain, I'm like, what the fuck? What's so good about engines? But then I actually forget the purpose of them. It's just another card in your deck that's a 1-card combo that gets you another piece freely on the board. So instead of you having... Because usually effects in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are once per monster. So you summon your Ash, and then that whole... the Snake Eye Ash combo is done the moment you've used one Snake Eye Ash. But now you can have a Snake Eye Ash in your hand and a Fiendsmith Engraver. I think the other is the start of the other combo, or insert any of the other 1-card combo pieces. And there's a lot, which also makes them problematic. But if you have both of these cards, now you can do both combos. And the reason this isn't clicking into my, and now you can get both. You can get the end of the Fiendsmith engine out, and you can get the end of the Snake Eyes engine out. Now you have both on the field, and then both of those end combo boss monsters will have their own negates or bullshitting things, and because it's generic, you can do that in any deck. It's just a free monster you get out, and then it'll have different interactions with it. So, the reason why it's not, when I play branded, it's not necessarily a combo deck, and all the combos are the same. I mean, currently they're all the same. It's just Get Out Gimmick, and Getting Out Gimmick Puppet will happen. Essentially with the same cards. There's no other engine in this deck. It's the whole engine is branded. Every card tries to get you, every single card you're playing in this deck tries to get you to Branded Fusion, and then from Branded Fusion to Granganol to get Gimmick Puppet. From Branded Fusion to getting Gimmick Puppet into your graveyard. And then getting Albion, the Sanctifier Dragon out. That's like your whole combo. That's it. It's one engine to do that. But if you have, and then I'm also confused because I also have the Runic engine, but the Runic engine is different. The Runic engine is a draw engine, deck out engine. It's not doing this as Fiendsmith engine. Fiendsmith engine or any other past generic engine. Adventure would be the other one that you would play these cards, and it gets you a whole other boss monster out, or lets you draw cards, and you have
wanna hand loop themselves.
From one hand, you have two things going on instead of just one.
For some reason, you make it impossible for them to play because how are they going?
You can summon Yubel and you can summon Fiendsmith, like whatever the Link monster.
To interact if your 1-card combo establishes everything and you have 4 additional cards to continue disrupting them, even if they disrupt you. A great example is one of the feature matches. It was actually the Dominic Couch feature match, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the actual gameplay when they got to play, but that didn't really happen. You saw Dominic disrupt his opponent like multiple times. I think it was 3 times, and he had 2 cards in hand. One of them was Fiendsmith Engraver, and the opponent, after making a mediocre board because they were disrupted so much, they just threw a draw into the graveyard. And it was enough for Dominic to scoop, even though he disrupted his opponent a lot, but he just couldn't push through a non-engine card that the opponent had and has the ability to play because of the one-card combos. There's a lot more to talk about probably. Like I said before, Melodious and stuff like that, having one-card combos. I don't like that. It's actually tough to play against Melodious if you're using hand traps. So like, I'm not a fan of that, but let's go back because you already know what I'm talking about. And let's talk about the next point on today's list because it's the perfect segue since we talked about draw, and it's hand traps. And look, I was one of the people always saying like, no, why would you want to like have Ashe banned or something? Like someone would like throw a random opinion at you sometimes and they would be like, yeah, Ashe needs to be banned or like Ashe needs to be limited. But now that I think about it more and more, I think hand traps are the actual issue. Like the second we started getting more hand traps that target incredibly...
The problem is I know fucking nothing about Yu-Gi-Oh. Hand trap for my little pea brain. I want to say no, but I don't think I have any basis to say no. There we go. What the fuck? Uh-oh. Oh no, I didn't. The fuck did I just do? Okay. Oh, I have the... I don't even know, bro. So, but I got the audio back.
Incredibly specific.
Okay, yep. But yeah, I want to say no, but that's my limited knowledge on it is just because for a while hand traps weren't a problem. But no, I think they still were. The issue now is that hand traps have become such an incredible problem because you can have such a tight-knit main deck engine, and then like Beansmith and Snake Eyes are such small engines that it lets you put like 20 fucking extra cards in there that are non-engine. You have like 20 fucking hand traps, and so you just know that every single time you're gonna have a hand trap in your hand. Versus like Branded, which 40 cards in the deck are like Branded's like a 40 card fucking engine. You have no space for hand traps. Runic is a 30 card fucking hand, like Runic engine is like 30 fucking cards, and then the rest are whatever morph of the deck you are. Are you doing stun? Or are you doing fire? Are you doing Runic Plunder Patrol? Or are you doing Runic Gimmick Puppet? Not Gimmick Puppet. Mimighoul. Like newer if it's possible.
Specific situations and scenarios, that's when it became a problem. Because before, for example, you had DD Crow, you had Effect Veiler, you even had Draw, which everybody kind of ignored, and Max C is its own beast. But you had hand traps that were not overwhelming. Like if you take Edison, for example, yes, DD Crow is very strong, but it's not terrorizing the field. Like it's not as insane that you're always gonna lose once you get DD Crow or something. And I'm not saying this always happens with hand traps right now, but it's just the sheer amount of them. And I know it happened because they kind of backed themselves into a corner, having to print hand traps because they printed broken archetypes because power creep, obviously. But I don't think your opponent should have the ability to not interact with you. I think interaction is something else. To disrupt you and to stop you while you are playing. I just think that's an issue. And I could, elaborate on this more, but I would love to know your thoughts as well. Like, do you think hand traps would have to be addressed in some way, maybe limited or something? We can also talk about specific hand traps like Shifter and Draw. People always like to talk about them and they kind of go hand in hand because they are indicative of a broken format, of an almost unfixable format a lot of times. The need to print Shifter shouldn't even exist if you don't print overpowered decks. So with that, I want to jump to the next point on today's list and in the video because Otherwise, we're going to be here for a while. And since we're talking about hand traps, this is perfect. It's just power creep altogether. It's the fact that you made a game so broken and you keep making new broken cards and printing new broken summoning mechanics and making different master rules and stuff. There's nothing else that you can do, really, when so much has been done already. But you still want to, give people the incentive to play and print really, really broken things, because otherwise, they're afraid that the game is going to start dying out. But I do quickly want to address the dying out portion as well. So we talked about hand traps and one-card combos, and we are going to be talking about power creep as well. But I do want to throw in an extra, thing for today's list, which is just overall that they are showing almost zero incentive to bring in new players. And the players are they're not encouraged to play because of the complexity of the game. And I think that's a huge issue when you don't have the time to spend for actually learning and testing and trying your best, because it's physically impossible to do extremely well in the metagame if you don't dedicate enough time because of how complex the entire game is, and also because of power creep and everything they are printing and everything that you have to be familiar with. And another point that goes hand in hand with that is also the fact that there's this huge card pool because we don't have rotation. And what they do is they give support to older archetypes and stuff. Sure, that's cool, but there's a lot to keep up with. So I guess the entire point could be summarized as complexity and power creep and just no rotation. The game being too extreme sometimes. And I think this is a really, really important point. It feels like there is not one thing that could really help save and solve things. There's not a new master rule for them to make. Well, there is, but it's going to get even more complex. And the power creep is going to be even more outrageous, because what they try to do, for example, is limit summoning from the extra deck only to the extra monster zone, and you started unlocking stuff, etc. It just wasn't really working because they were trying to force links on us when we weren't really down for it. There's someone just wanting to play Paleo. That's literally what happened. People were just they could not summon Toad, they could not summon ABC Dragon Buster, and then Konami was like, oh, let's just limit those cards because why not? I'm sure they're going to be an issue. But all jokes aside, of course, they are unlimited now. And we have an insane game where Toad and ABC Dragon Buster are just the least of our worries right now. So yes, the entire complexity, just getting into it, there's so much you have got to think about and keep in mind and learn. And there's not enough time. And a lot of times, there is not enough money. And this is the next point. Number 4 on today's list. It is the price of the game. And I know the community has been outraged for quite some time now. And I also know, please, don't come for me with the dot format was extremely expensive. Yes, I know. But this doesn't excuse the fact that they are literally printing broken cards as secret rares and short prints or ultras in random set. And I am looking at you, Bonfire. It doesn't excuse it. It is not okay for them to announce something like Fiendsmith, which we all know is game-changing, and printing 3 secret rares for the archetype. I think it's outrageous, and it's becoming worse and worse. It's just they do not care, and the prices are stupid, in tandem with the fact that you have to spend a lot of time, not to mention a lot of resources, to travel to events, to go to regionals, to go to a YCS, if you're from the USA, because they don't care about us over here. But it's fine. We'll just get a couple in the fall. We're not even going to talk about that, honestly. But yes, it is the price of the game. It's horrible, and it is a topic that's been talked a lot before. So I would love to know your thoughts again. But I have covered this, I have talked about it, and I have said that, you know, it's not so expensive, it's okay, you can just play other things. But today we're focusing only on Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG and just overall being competitive in this sphere. So yes,
It's so annoying. I have to decrease
needless to say, it's a
I have to make them hate me to get my autonomy up. But then obviously they're not going to say yes because I hate them and they hate me.
big issue here. So I have covered quite a lot of points in today's video. It wasn't just 5. So I do want to leave the option for you guys to let me know what number 5 should be on today's list. But what I quickly wanted to also address as number 5 would be the ban lists. And I have also talked about this before, but I just, you know, with the ban list being announced to purposely be after NAWCQ and Euros, that's just terrible. That is not what we want. And even when they do drop a ban list, it's not going to completely hinder the best deck. And we can already tell this because they are all secret rare. And because, you know, when Snake Eye was also at its prime before, you had to buy Bonfire and Wanted and all of that. And they're just not going to do it to the people investing the money. So you can already tell the ban list is not going to be as effective. Not to mention they don't put it out a lot of times. They don't announce it. Ever, pretty much. They don't talk about the reasoning. And we did have the announcement of, yeah, it's gonna be after Euros, whatever. Like, sure, step in the right direction, but let's not talk about communication today because I'm over it. But the ban list not actually addressing issues and them underutilizing emergency ban lists, all of that, I just think it's terrible because you have no incentive to stay in this game when things are so unsure. And I quickly want to turn to One Piece for that. When you know what your banned cards are going to be, what the meta is going to be looking like can be kind of foreseen, I guess, or speculated on when you find out about the ban list. And obviously they're not going to implement this in the TCG, but I don't know. I think all of us would sleep a little better at night knowing that issues are actually going to be addressed and that FDKs and insane extra deck monsters is actually going to be answered and not go unaddressed again. So yes, I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. There probably is more, but I do not want to keep you. Thank you for watching until the very end. Make sure to like the video if you enjoy it. And again, please, I just want to have a conversation with you guys in the comments. So share your thoughts and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you. And boom and boom. I just want independence, bro. Or not even that. Fuck that. Just give me dominionship. Minus 100 base reluctancy. Nice. Minus 24 for ideological differences of our government. Plus 50 attitudes towards British Canada as protective. Perceived ability to defend Canada in diplomatic play to defeat Canada. At the time. Yeah, see, look. Minus 50 Canadian relations are cold. Yeah, they're cold because I need to do it so that I actually have fucking options here. It's so stupid. So now I can go. So, okay, let's say I don't. Okay, let's not click out diplomats and let's keep our vibes going. And I only use the quests. I only request things to get my independence. Live out. Oh. And it's not damaging related. Stop that. Proof relation. going crazy because we're both improved. But then I go to here and it's just gonna, it like Omega syncs my shit. Don't need foreign influence from these fucking communists. Yeah, we gotta do that part. For I'm a democracy. %. Oh, but I have to kick out intent. I gotta put these weirdos in office. An ethno-nationalist. I'm just gonna hope that the patrons of industry are going to curb these crazies from. Oh God. My standard of living is 4th in the world. Oh, Switzerland's just pure communist. Nice. Oh no, oh no. Building on perceived common enmity, Great Britain, pro-American associates have become commonplace with the unfortunately inclined petite. Let's do that. Yeah, seeing now like a fucking train, like I'm losing it. Okay, I'll be able to. Okay. I need to put a new decree in. Oh, immediate jump to 72. Zeppelines in. Okay. All I know is green number. All I see is green number. Oh no. I'm so sorry, Cape Colony. Send another one. Okay, lots of. Confederate States. Oh my god. Going to war against the. Well, they can't reach my border, so. Oh, and I'm also not under any obligation. Based. Based. Oh, never mind. I am forced to join. Okay. Okay, it's just the Confederates. What do they have? Question is, what do I have? And the answer is I don't have a real answer. But the fuck can't I build a naval base? Oh, hello. I lost something. Okay. Can I not build them while at war? Am I banned from building them? Or like fighting the Confederate. Minas East India. Okay. Whatever that was. Dude, now my economy's crazy, but what? He will start moving to enact ethno-state. Thanks, Archibald MacDonald. Oh, you're part of intelligentsia. I'm so glad. So glad they became feminists, and then they're like, we like all women, but only white women. Can I just exile that guy? Can I just tell him to go fuck himself? Hey, can I just interact with him? Grant command. Exile this. Oh. Let him. I gotta let him be. Damn it. Democracies, am I right? Freedom of speech. Fuck! Plastiques. What I might do is I think I might turn off auto building for a second, so that I can actually. Well, I won't do it for railways. Won't do it for food industry. Stop doing it. What I want to be able to do is I want to be able to actually upgrade certain things. I'll keep. But like I can't actually get this to be electric sewing machine for some reason. The state doesn't have it. Oh. Electricity. Yeah, like some things don't have access. Do I want to subsidize urban? Art academies are. Up. Trade center, yeah, automatically expand those. So I'm just gonna make sure that there's a power plant in. I guess. Use on that one. Me subsidizing the urban centers. Yeah, see, notice how I haven't done enough qualified workers. What's that costing me? I know the answer is a lot, as I can see from shit getting fucked. Where do I see that price? Arcane subsidy. I'm a big balloon. Financial district. Oh, urban center. There. What's causing this? This should cost me like and do it with taxes. Question is, why is it doing? It may not forever. Why aren't these? Oh, unironically, it's just because like I'm facilitating them with too good of stuff. Like none of it doesn't need public motor cages. They probably just need this, and then it'll be. They probably don't need gas streetlights. They probably just need this. They could just go with market stalls. Right. Okay. And then I'll still subsidize it because you know, but the Northwest Territories probably don't need public transportation. I mean, I would like it, but it. No, they probably don't. They probably don't need streetlights because it's just they're such a low population, remote area that there's nothing to like go over. Saskatchewan, you know, they don't even have enough quality. They don't even have enough qualified urban center workers to hit the thing. So I'm gonna do this. See, there's. I would need. Yeah. Okay. Alberta. British Columbia. Like we'll try to keep this as good as possible. Actually take light. Manitoba. Yeah, like I think you just have to make these things. Even if they don't have enough workers, I think you just have to make them. Even full. Alberta might not. Oh, yeah, like look, I'm actually gonna make so much more money. I'm employing more people. Like New Brunswick, same thing. Or instead of costing me a bunch of money, you're not gonna have as much. You're gonna need more workers, but that's okay. Yukon Territory, you definitely don't need this stuff. Quebec, you're probably okay to have it. Quebec, Ontario, you're probably okay with having it because actually probably electricity. Not enough electricity apparently. Yeah, that I think that's good. Yeah, if you make it dirt cheap, then it makes you a fuck ton. The productivity actually goes up. But why does it matter? What is it even doing for me? Goods produced, services, transportation. Oh, okay. I have like no transport. Might be used. Yeah, now New Brunswick is actually making money. Oh, okay. Good to upgrade. Switchboard shit just seems broke. Oh, I can actually do it. Telephone switchboard. Arts Academy. Problem is just qualified people. Oh, I have one in Idaho. Nobody's working there. Okay. They get a bunch less services. Productivity goes up the most. Downgrade the production. From here is IMO is Paradox overweight luxury items for rich people consumption instead of services. That said, in the meantime, try to get your pops richer to consume more services. Export/delete as much of your art as you can. Service can lower urban center PMs. Use the transportation PMs to reduce the work. Focus product management. Production method. Tax transportation telephones make them more expensive, so your pops. Tax transportation / telephones make them more expensive, so your pops buy more service. Find the best way to manage urban centers to keep the base production method, gaslight, and highest transportation. Higher transport number of pops employed. Reduce the number of radicals that get fired. Only using street lights for extra services means nice. Okay, so let's. No lights. Don't care. No lights. And public motor cages. Okay. I won't do it on every one of them, but in the population zone. Then my amenities. Oh, sorry. Base product. So gas, street lights. Sorry. This is how they do it. This. I'll force it on it. I'll get a fucking million radicals because I just fired a bunch of people. Forcefully. Wiggle mine. This thing's productive. Okay, you're immediately already productive. Hog. You want to save your urban centers, don't make automobiles and tax telephones. Both these goods directly compete with services, avoiding art as well. Is it good? But it's so retarded. Hi, sorry. You can't have a taxi because everyone has. Well, I guess that makes sense in the sense like you have cars, then no one needs to drive the cars, but you also need the motors to make the taxis. I wiggled my economy, but things are looking better. Motor industries. Why can't some of them make... Like, why is Northwest Territory stuck on that? They have access to electricity. Just do. Canada has invented compression. Close effect. Assuming I can go to assembly lines on most things because you have no. Maybe you can't import electricity. All right. Don't know. These things are massively profitable. I think I wiggled my economy, but it's looking better. These things are now slightly more productive than they were before. And then he's saying I should do things like tax. So I should tax automobiles. What did he say I should do? I actually also have to check that my farms are... Or my... Nothing... Okay. Nothing farm-wise is, is making any money. Okay, that's for railways. But railways I subsidize because it helps other things. To privatize all. the railways will stay national. Fishing wharves, logging camps, all become power plants. No, subsidized. Well, they can become. Can I make them public, but can I make them private, but subsidized? Art Academy. Tobacco. Full bore into capitalism. We'll just do a lot of these things now, and we'll double back around. An insane amount. I think maybe privatizing but subsidizing would help. I'm going to be building some. Way to check the private sector. Revelo. Isn't construction for the investment pool. You make those guys. There. I think. Sector. The British Columbia has flooded. Eight. They're so close to accepting. Oh, but no one supports. Fuck! No one supports a professional army. Who endorses this? Oh, in the trade union. Oh, double fuck you. Like, this is where the shit gets dumb. Is that to increase my autonomy, they're not going to say yes because of reasons, but then I can't ask again in like years from now. Support regime. A support. Ours. It's 2011. Oh, it's just to help my government struggling. Boom my economy, please. Oh, it really. Maybe pass. What the fuck happened to him? Uh-oh. Do I dare look over at China? What happened? Okay. Oh my fucking god. What is it they want? They want a higher autonomy. About 8 years. Let's just cut out a bunch of crap. Oil rigs can do whatever they want. Fine. Diversity, sure. Food. Ports, yeah. Power plants, sure. Paper. Motor stuff, sure. Get rid of anything that's red. Got bigger problems. Should let them. Whatever. No, that's 5 years. Okay, now whole plants, yeah. Tools, sure. Paper. Sure. Trains. Okay. Oh, it's only 5 years. Dude, Britain like owns all of Turkey. Like, what the fuck? Okay, this is the World War, except for it's just Britain on themselves. Okay. Okay. You have war on yourself.
Cool your bed down to 20 degrees below the room temperature so you get better. Or it can heat your bed up. And I know that they have seen more response sense when you're snoring and lift your head so you can breathe better. It's truly amazing. I use an 8 Sleep pod every night. Once you try it, you'll understand how big of a difference it makes for sleep. Go to 8sleep.com/Pacman and use code Pacman for $350 off. The link is in the description. Welcome, everybody. The last few weeks have seen more major stories and significant changes to a presidential campaign in such a short period of time. Certainly more than any recent election in decades that I can recall. And this is continuing to move very, very quickly. And I know that the news I'm about to give you is going to be frustrating to some in my audience. Some of you are going to be angry, while I know many of you also are happy from the emails that I've received. As the discussion about whether there will be an open convention for the Democratic Party in a few weeks in Chicago, Illinois, has been growing, who would be the possible replacements to Joe Biden? What will their campaign be like to delegates? As all of that was building, it is functionally over. Now, hold on. I'll tell you the whole story. It is functionally over as Kamala Harris has secured enough delegates for the nomination. Reportedly coming as a surprise to the vice president on Sunday, when President Biden announced he would not seek re-election. She was reportedly not notified more than just minutes in advance. 48 hours later, not even really, more like 36, because this came last night, she has secured the delegates for the nomination, and some are saying we can now close the door on who will be.
Wait, hold on. Let me just cut this. Not that we're recording that much longer. We cut it every hour.
Joe Biden's replacement. Others saying, no, we cannot. We will fight for the nomination. It should be someone else. Now, often the someone else is not even somebody who's remotely viable, and we will get to that in a moment. But let's talk about what happened. A reasonable question, of course, is how could it be over if the delegates haven't yet voted at the DNC? And that is a very good question. No delegates have voted, but with regard to verbal commitments, Kamala Harris has secured the number she needs. Reuters reports Vice President Kamala Harris will campaign in Wisconsin today after securing enough Democratic delegate support to clear a path to the nomination. Harris has emerged as the Democratic candidate after President Biden abandoned the re-election campaign. Less than 36 hours after Biden endorsed Harris, she secured the nomination Monday night by winning the pledged support of a majority of the party's delegates who will determine the nomination, the campaign said. Kamala Harris putting out a statement, which I will read to you in a moment. An unofficial survey of delegates by the Associated Press shows Harris with more than 2,500 delegates, well over the 1976 needed to win. Here's a critical line. Delegates could still technically change their minds, but nobody else received any votes in the AP survey. 54 delegates were undecided. Now, I know that there are people who are furious about this. I was getting text messages Sunday, Monday, one this morning, from other hosts and different strategists and, people I've met over the years, most saying it seems as though this is over, and some saying this can't be over. We must demand a process. Now, here's the thing that makes this a more complicated situation. To demand a process can mean many different things. And of course, if other candidates put their names forward and lobby delegates and say, choose me instead.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Right. I'm doing everything right. Please select me at the DNC. I think that that's all great. I'm supportive of that. We also can't strong arm delegates into choosing someone else when the someone else isn't even anybody clear. It's critical to understand that nobody at this point, in a serious manner, and I know we've got these third-party candidates who are sometimes on the fringes of the Democratic Party, but they're not running as Democrats, but might they? We don't actually have any serious challenge from inside the Democratic Party to Kamala Harris right now. And so it would be a very different scenario if we right now had a two-way, three-way, four-way, five-way race where it's Kamala Harris and maybe it's Andy Bashir, and imagine that Pete Buttigieg came forward or Hillary Clinton came back and said, pick me, or the Republican dream of Michelle Obama. Or if you had announced challenges to Kamala Harris and if you had money coming into someone other than Kamala Harris, you would have a much more likely scenario of a so-called open convention with a contested nomination. We just don't have that right now. Now, you can point to the situation and say it was manipulated in order to prevent that. And of course, manipulation is a term that has some connotations attached to it. But yes, Joe Biden said, I endorse Kamala. Kamala Harris said, I'm running. Donors said, we like it, and poured in record money, which I'll talk about in a moment. And that's where we are right now. So while I am absolutely on the side of let everyone who wants this come forward, let them lobby the delegates, let there be a discussion at the convention if indeed there is disagreement, I don't think that there is any way to force that. And in fact, it's almost seeming, given the degree to which and the energy which has been displayed behind Kamala Harris saying, I'll do it, and the money pouring in and the enthusiasm, it actually seems like it would be more forced at this point to create some kind of contested situation that simply doesn't exist. And I know a lot of people won't like that. They'll say, wait, the Kamala Harris manipulated the situation too because she said she's considering as VP some of the people who might run against her. Yeah, it's called politics. I mean, that's kind of the way this thing works. And it seems to me that the priority, now that record money is pouring into Kamala Harris's campaign, is let's figure out how to make her the next president rather than Donald Trump, because it's seeming like those are the two options. I know that there are people who are still saying, I would rather it be Gretchen Whitmer. It doesn't seem Gretchen Whitmer's doing it. First, before any of this, you've got to convince Gretchen Whitmer to say I'd be interested. And it doesn't seem like that is going to happen. Now, Kamala Harris putting out a statement where she says, when I announced my campaign for president, I said I intended to go out and earn this nomination. Tonight, I'm proud to have secured the broad support needed to become our party's nominee. And as a daughter of California, I'm proud that my home state's delegation helped put our campaign over the top. I look forward to formally accepting the nomination soon. I'm grateful to President Biden and everyone in the Democratic Party who has already put their faith in me, and I look forward to taking our case directly to the American people. This election will present a clear choice between two different visions. Trump wants to take our country back to a time before many of us had full freedoms and equal rights. I believe in a future that strengthens our democracy, protects reproductive freedom, and ensures every person has the opportunity to not just get by, but to get ahead. Over the next few months, I'll be traveling, talking to Americans, etc., all to defeat Donald Trump. This is where we are. And while I am disgusted by the campaign finance status quo in the United States, it cannot be ignored that there is record money pouring into Kamala Harris's campaign, and I want to talk about that next. MAGA and Trump are in a panic. Not only is Donald Trump reportedly regretting and second-guessing his choice of J.D. Vance as his vice presidential running mate. You'll see why when I show you clips of their joint interview on Fox News last night in a moment. But the money that is pouring in behind Kamala Harris, hundreds of millions of dollars, if you include her campaign combined with the political action committees. Now, I hate the fact that our elections are guided by donations in this way. I find PACs and super PACs disgusting. I want to completely change in almost every way how politics is funded in the United States. And I also can't ignore that under the status quo, when you see this amount of money pour in, it signals significant enthusiasm. Report from the Associated Press. Kamala Harris smashes fundraising record with a stunning $81 million haul over 24 hours. These are incredible numbers. This includes money raised across the campaign, DNC, and joint fundraising committees.
Okay, that's a lot. Yeah, I might stop. The only thing I don't like, okay, so like it seems like as the game goes on, you just get locked out of things. Like I'm just never getting multiculturalism, even though I have an insanely diverse population. Political strengths, political culture. Anglo-Canadian is, well, okay, they're pretty exclusionary, but like 4% of the population is Serbian, Finnish, Métis, North German, Greek, English, and then a bunch of other things. Like arguably the most. Oh yeah, and then look, the population, political strength. Oh yeah, sorry, the political strength, but the populations. Oh, I see what's going on. 71. Political strength, just culture. Anglo-Canadian is a large majority, but French, Mashariki is 10% of the. I don't even know what that is. Turkish, Bedouin, North German, Cree, English, Athabascan, which is here. Métis, Serbian, Kurdish, North Italian, Greek, Punjab, like insanely diverse country, insanely religiously diverse country. But oh no. We're culturally exclusive, bordering on racial segregation. Like what? And the reason for that is just because if I go to politics and I go to government, who's in power right now, because of popularity, is someone who's a feminist, cool, but is an isolationist, particularist, agrarian. And the liberal is a fucking anti-clerical, okay, Republican. I switch my... I also can't go to parliamentary republic for some dumbass reason. I don't know why I can't. Doesn't make any sense. Why I can't. I'm always a presidential republic, but whatever. Anyways. Oops, sorry, government. Anti-slavery, liberal, but for some reason does not support. Nobody here supports multiculturalism. Oh, this guy actually opposes multiculturalism. How does that even make any fucking sense? How do you oppose multiculturalism and also oppose ethno-state and national separation? Why are you endorsing of cultural exclusion? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. What's the pull? Why do you support this versus multiculturalism? As a anti so many fucking million things. I don't understand. Yeah. Minus 5% for accepted cultures. What do you mean accepted cultures? I don't understand. Foreign cultures with nothing in common with our primary cultures are discriminated against. Okay, that doesn't sound great. No cultures are discriminated against. That's what I want, but nobody wants it. Even though we're the most diverse country in the fucking planet. Okay, like that makes sense. Oh, Spain's gonna take over Portugal. And I'm gonna save here, and I'm gonna peace out. Thanks for tuning in.